Good morning. I'm audible, I'm visible. Great. Just to confirm one thing, batch 2 students, can you just say that I'm here? Batch 2. If you're from batch 2, just say, yes, sir, I'm here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm here. Monica. Monica, so you did what was told to you, right? I think. Perfect, Deepak. Great. Monica, Deepak, can you confirm? Yes, very good. Monica, Bindu, yes. Jasveer, great. So Jasveer, you were able to join generally without any issue. Instruction was sent to you and you were able to follow that, right? Batch 2, not batch 1 and 3, batch 2. Okay, so it's encouraging that you are here. There was a certain glitch, but yeah, it worked out. Okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. So we'll wait to 2 to 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll begin. We give India independence today, miscellaneous topics, previous year questions, and then we have to discuss the strategy for modern India today. Jasveer will figure that out. That is the glitch. That is the glitch. Don't worry. I have Saturday's class timing. Don't worry. I'm going to, once I have the requisite number, I'll tell you. Don't worry about that. I figured that out. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. So yes, Saturday, Kishan, I'll tell you that Saturday, as I told you, we were going to make up for certain time lost on Saturday. So now how we are planning everything is that today is technically the end of modern India. We'll close modern India today. Tomorrow we'll start post independence. So post independence tomorrow we will have the class as per schedule, which is 6 to 9:30. So tomorrow, which is 12th, you have the standard class at 6 to 9:30 a.m. Thereafter on Saturday, 13th 05 2023, which is Saturday, it's also going to be a post independence class, but that is going to be, and please note, that is going to be from 9 to 11:30 a.m. because some of you are also doing polity. So therefore, polity extra classes from 7 to 9, and this is from 9 to 11:30, 2.5 hours. And then on Monday, which is 15th 05 2023, as per your schedule, that is going to be a last class, same as always, on post independence. So this is post independence 1, this is post independence 2, and this is post independence 3. 3 classes of post independence. So I hope that you can note that Saturday class is 9 to 11:30 a.m. 9 to 11:30 a.m. Kishan, CNA is recorded on YouTube. You can go and watch that later. This is more important, right? So I hope nobody has any problem for Saturday 9 to 11:30 a.m. Noted? Any issue? I'll repeat it in the end also and in between class also. It will be a live class, yes, as always. So there should be no problems in that regard. Perfect. If there's no issue, great. Perfect. Okay. So today's agenda is very simple, and I hope everybody is here. Everybody is comfortable because today we grant independence to India. We will start with cabinet mission. Then we'll go into the elections, then interim government, and thereafter we'll talk about ISME and the Dicky Bird plan, the Shoravardi plan, and thereafter we'll give India independence through the Mountbatten plan, which is 3rd June plan. And more than that, thereafter we'll go into smaller, very small topics. Today our agenda is to wrap up full modern India. Along with doing that, I will do two things for sure, which is that We'll discuss all previous year questions, and thereafter we will also discuss the mains questions which are there and which come from the national movement itself. And I will give you an understanding of how to deal with modern India here on, which is a strategy for modern India. And I'll talk about the chapters which are relevant from Bipin Chandra, which have to be read as it is, and what to do with the PPT and the resources which you have. And as it is, where does the NCRT come in that regard? So I'll give everything with regards to that. I'll give you a master timeline, and more than that, we will discuss everything which is related to the larger concept of modern India. How does it fit in the larger story? Because you've not done ancient medieval with me. As you know, as we go forward, ancient and medieval will be taught to you, and world history also is with me only. So ancient, medieval, modern, and you have art and culture with world history, everything with me. Okay, so are we ready? Come on. Yes. Sneha, that is a glitch that we'll sort out. There was a glitch in batch 2 that has been sorted out. But I hope batch 2 is here. Nobody has any issues in joining today, because batch 1, batch 3 was totally fine. There would be a message which had gone to batch 2 that I think should have got automatically sorted. Right. So just batch 2, can you just tell me? I think 3 of you have already told me batch 2 is here, right? Either in the form of batch 1 or batch 3. Yes, you are. Come on. Yes, great. Perfect. Then it gives me satisfaction that you have been able to join. Great. So yeah, as I said, there's a glitch that will be sorted by tonight. For the yesterday's class, it's not available. That will be there. Don't worry. Okay. Perfect. Then, right. So what I'm going to start with is that I'm going to give you the timeline again, but now I'll only concentrate on 1946 and 47. We've done 40, which is August offer, 41 individual satyagrah, 42 Cripps mission quit India. We've reached till 45, wherein we had reached till the RIN mutiny and the Wavell plan. So today we have to just concentrate on the last 2 years or 1.5 years of our independence, and thereafter we have to just understand how does the interim government form, why did the British give us independence in 1947, and why not in 1948 as per plan. So yesterday we stopped in February, not in February, yes, in February of 1946, which was the RIN mutiny. Thereafter, we moved to today, May of 1946. Thereafter, the July of 1946. Then we'll go to August of 1946. Then September of 1946. Thereafter, October of 1946. And once we reach October of 1946, we will have the famous February of 1947 declaration, called the Attlee Declaration. From Attlee, we'll move till March 1947, then May 1947, June 1947, and 15th August 1947. So Wavell plan already done yesterday. We have discussed how Wavell plan was going to mess up the basic structure of constitution making, and the way Jinha walking out was considered walking out of a major player, and therefore by dissolving that conference, he gave Jinha too much power. This is the point which we discussed in the end. The last point we discussed yesterday was this only. The first point we discussed was the fact that how RIN mutiny was a jolt to the British, which is, I'm going to just put in that RIN mutiny. And thereafter, the fact that RIN will be followed by the cabinet mission. The cabinet mission will thereafter be followed by the interim government elections. Interim government elections. Then August of 1946 is called the Direct Action Day. Direct Action Day. September of 1946, the interim government has been established. Muslim League joins interim government. Thereafter, the most important declaration, the Attlee Declaration. Then March, Mountbatten comes to India. By May of 1947, you have this is the period of what is called the Ismay or Dickey Bird plan. It's going to be worked out in this period. Then you have the 3rd June plan or Mountbatten plan. And thereafter, Indian independence with partition. Okay. Now, this is the basic timeline we have to cover. We have already reached till this point, and we have to go further. But just to give you a basic understanding of what we've done, everybody's okay. Yeah, you are understanding where we are now. Month by month, things are going to matter, and we are going to concentrate on that only. So now what is the current situation? The current situation is three things. Is very simply three things. The first and foremost point is that there's a general election. There's a general election which is going to happen in England in the February of 1946. In the February of 1946. And that is going to have a lot of implications because of the fact that you have Churchill fighting to remain in power. Thereafter, you also have the RIN mutiny and the INA trials. The RIN mutiny and the INA trials are considered extremely important because these two represent a certain fading of power. Fading of power, because RIN showed that the British could not rely on its most important, what we call as pillar, which is the army, and INA showed that there was a developing unity which was unparalleled previously. So we know that British Raj was based on certain pillars. British Raj was based on certain pillars, and those pillars were the ICS, the police, and the army. And we know that in the ICS, the ratio had become 55% to 45% when it came to Indianization. So that was also a problem. Further, the police was also not ready to accept what the British were saying. But the RIN mutiny was seen as the biggest jolt to the British because this pillar was now fully gone. So if you talk about the RIN and the INA trials, they in a way talk about a certain scenario in which the British psyche has to change. More than that, Wavell Conference, which had happened by the what we call as June of 1945 itself, even before RIN is Royal Indian Navy, even before the RIN mutiny happened, Wavell Conference confirmed something. And Wavell Conference confirmed what? That by Jinnah walking off because he was not able to nominate all Muslim members, Wavell dissolving the conference was considered disastrous because that gave Jinnah all the power, and he now knew what he wanted, and mostly that he will get something out of this whole power struggle for sure. Because if him walking off can lead to whole conferences getting in a way destroyed or dissolved, then it means that he holds a lot of power in that regard. And that is a very important point you need to understand, that Jinnah was now confirmed to the Wavell Conference that he can do anything. So the basic point of the matter is in 1936, partition was not inevitable, but now you can see that the minority clause is becoming more and more important. And Wavell Conference in that regard was a confirmation that Jinnah could destroy or delay Indian independence. So if we are comfortable with these three things which are happening in the background, I would now like to move forward and talk about cabinet mission and what happens and move slowly but surely towards our independence. Yes, great. Now the general elections happen in London, and Churchill loses because of Churchill's basic attitude towards the soldiers and generally what he was doing in India. Churchill loses, and the person who comes to power is a person called Clement Attlee. Clement Attlee is going to become the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and he will also be from the Labour Party. From the Labour Party, and because he's from the Labour Party, he's basically a socialist. He was close to Jawaharlal Nehru. He was close to Jawaharlal Nehru. Both used to meet in different conferences. So Attlee, in that sense, already knew Nehru, and basically he was a little bit more sympathetic towards the Indians, The Labour government always had been, but Clement Attlee was specifically. Now, very simply, Clement Attlee and even Churchill before that, the end of the Second World War, by 1945, inaugurated a new time period or a new phase of world history. What is that phase called? Between 1945 to 1991? What is that phase called? You know it? Yes, very good. Cold War, very good. It's called the Cold War period. 1945 to 1991 is called the Cold War period. We'll talk about that again in world history in quite a lot of detail. Cold War period basically is the power struggle between two giants, which is USSR versus the America, or basically Russia versus America. This is the world order which is there, and there's a tussle between the Russians and the Americans for world control for close to 40 years. Now, the US was the new emerging power which represented the West. Now, tell me one thing. If Britain, have a lot of colonies, and if I have been destroyed by Hitler, and if I'm the Americans, would I like the fact that Britain has so many colonies? No. America, have no colonies because I was a colony myself. I was never interested in colonialism. But UK has a lot of colonies. So America now starts to do politics. And America creates a lot of pressure on Clement Attlee and the United Kingdom that you have to change your colonial policy. And in a way, the Cold War politics was important because Clement Attlee and UK was in a very bad state. Because England generally had suffered quite a lot. During the Second World War. There is wartime inflation, there is unemployment, generation after generation are dead. 8 crore people died in the Second World War. And 8 crore people died because of one man's ambition, Hitler. But the basic point of the matter was that England's economy was generally in tatters, and America now emerged as the paramount power at this point of time. So the Americans, in their old Cold War politics to, in a way, subordinate the British, now start to create pressure on Clement Attlee that you have to give certain solution. Colonial policy, you killed 8 crore people because you said you protected democracy. Now, show us that you actually protect democracy or not. So I hope that you're able to understand the Cold War angle here, which is that America is now fighting with the Russians, and America, as it is a very useless, moody power. The basic point of the matter is paramount power means that basically it is the new kid in the house, the new boss of everyone. for centuries, since 1600 till 1945. For 300 years, British was the boss. It has an empire on which the sun never set. It was the paramount power in the world. It had dominated every European power. But by 1945-46, it is now wavering, and as it is, America is creating pressure on UK to give certain form of concessions. So, is the Cold War angle clear? Because what I'm trying to argue here is, why 1947? Why not 1950? Why not 57? Why 47? Because there is a lot of things which are going to come together and, in a way, create pressure on the British in that regard. So now Clement Attlee is under pressure from the US, and as it is, he has a better approach towards India than Churchill. And he will now send a very important body called the Cabinet Mission to India. The Cabinet Mission, which lands in India in May of 1946, is considered a very important body because it is under this its scheme that basically Indian independence was planned and interim government was planned. Now, why is it called the Cabinet Mission? Because in February, when they will start and reach by March and May, the three people who were involved were three cabinet members of the British Parliament. So you have Pethick Lawrence, who was the Secretary of State. Further, you have Stanford Cripps, the same person, Cripps Mission. He's the president of the Board of Control, Board of Trade in that regard, Board of Trade of the British. And you have A.V. Alexander, who is the First Lord of Admiralty. Basically, consider him the boss of the Navy. And Pethick Lawrence was the chairman of this mission. So you have three people, Pethick Lawrence, Stanford Cripps, and A.V. Alexander, together called the Cabinet Mission. These three being the cabinet members of the Prime Minister, Clement Attlee. Right? Till this point, no issue, right? Because then I want to discuss something extremely important. No issues. Everybody is following the basic story. Great, perfect. Now, what happens is that Jinnah had been doing Pakistan. So, as soon as A.V. Alexander reaches and Pethick Lawrence, and they say call Jinnah, because he is the only one who's too eager for all these things. So the Cabinet Mission, the first thing which the Cabinet Mission does is they say that Wavell Conference got destroyed because of you. You come here. You come and we want to talk to you. So now I'm discussing the provisions of the Cabinet Mission. So now Cabinet Mission says to Jinnah, okay, you want Pakistan? He says, yes, I want Pakistan. So they say, okay, this is the map of India, British India. Tell us where is Pakistan, and we'll give it to you. In this map, mark where is Pakistan, and we will give it to you. Now, Jinnah never expected that. He had been talking about Pakistan for quite a long time, but he never said to anybody where it was. People used to say, where is Pakistan? Ladke lenge, but where? We don't know. We'll see, we'll figure it out. So he wanted Pakistan, but nobody knew where. So the whole Muslim League was based on this basic dream that they will get Pakistan. It's basically that moment in which a child is in a toy store and his parents say, buy whatever you want to buy. And at that moment, you don't understand what to buy, because you never expected your parents to say that you can spend as much money as possible. So now either you're going to think small or you're going to think big. Chota sochoge, bada sochoge. And Jinnah now took that map and did something which basically all three were shocked. They were like, either he is high or he is drunk or he has no idea what he's doing. The map which Jinnah submits to the cabinet mission is this. Whatever green you see is Pakistan. Now, the cabinet mission, as much as we find it amusing, the cabinet mission said that you want Pakistan in Sri Lanka also, which is there. You want in Andaman Nicobar Island, so you want, so Lakshadweep also you want Maldives also, which does not even come under us. He said this does not come, this part does not come under us, this is French. So they said, oh, sorry. Then he changed. The simple point is the way he has created this. This was called a moth-eaten Pakistan. He wanted the whole West also, he wanted the whole East also, and then he wanted pockets inside Bihar also, in UP also, in MP also, near Delhi also, in Rajasthan also, in again MP, parts of whole of it, Gujarat. What was the logic of that? Nobody knows. Whole of Gujarat he wanted, then why would he leave this only? Run of Kutch also, you take everything you want. Thereafter, he has no idea of what he was doing here. Then he wants the whole of heart of India also. Then he wants a sector in this sector. So he had no idea what he was actually doing. And whole of Northeast also he wants, where technically there after Assam, the Muslim population is more or less nil. So this is the map which Jinnah submits. These are called the 9 Pakistans of Jinnah. And the biggest point was Jinnah hated Karachi. Jinnah hated Karachi and loved Bombay, because Jinnah's wife is still today buried in Bombay only, and Jinnah loved Bombay. So Jinnah said to the cabinet mission, do one thing, you give India Karachi and you give me Bombay. So cabinet mission said that you have made it into a game, and Jinnah's last wish was also to be buried with his wife, which obviously government of India was never going to allow. The simple point of the matter is, wherever he took a acrylic green color and he just sprinkled it over the Indian map, and wherever the green went, that was Pakistan for him. And the irony of the fact is that this was not based on vote share, this was not based on any form of consent. Most of the people who you see in this map are actually not even Muslims in that regard. And very simply, Jinnah gave a very distorted image of Pakistan. And that is why as soon as the concept of Pakistan came to the cabinet mission straightforward said, no Pakistan. Cabinet mission straightforward said that Jinnah needs to figure it out. He has no idea what he wants. He's asking for a moth-eaten, insect-eaten Pakistan, in which there are geographically contagious areas are not related. Imagine that if I had to move from this part of Pakistan, which is, for example, from this to this, how do I do that? You have Indian territory in between. So his idea was that how do you move from this to this, and then what is this whole concept of that? Very simply, the cabinet mission said something very, very clearly, that Jinnah's understanding of Pakistan only creates discord because the areas in which he's asking for Pakistan also have a sizable population of Hindus and Sikhs. So maybe 38, 40%, 45% of people are Muslims in the northwestern sector, but there's still a chance that close to 50 to 55% of the population is Hindu plus Sikh. So it said, and this was the only good thing in the cabinet mission, that Pakistan cannot be created. We reject the Pakistan concept. That is why Jinnah, as it is, was always not very happy with the cabinet mission, because of the fact that cabinet mission, first thing it did was said, you go and sit in the corner, you don't know what you want, and we will reject the concept of Pakistan itself. So the first major provision of the cabinet mission is called no Pakistan. So it outrightly rejected the concept of Pakistan. Till this point, I think you like the cabinet mission. So now can I tell you how it was more disastrous than anything when it came to the previous offers we got? Okay. Till this point, perfect. Jinnah needed to be shown his place. Cabinet mission had the guts to do it. And Jinnah, however, after Wavell conference, as it is, was on cloud 9. He knew that he could do anything, but his major concept is now rejected. No Pakistan. Now, the problem with the cabinet mission is not this. The problem with the cabinet mission, though it will go forward, is that there are three provisions which are problematic. First, it says that Indian independence will be granted after 10 years. So, according to cabinet mission, Indian independence was going to be granted in 1956. 1956. So, for them, the timeline was too long. They said that for a proper systematic withdrawal from India, 1956 is the timeline we go with. For them, it was 10-year timeline. But they had no idea that 10 years was a very, very long time at this point of time. 10 years surviving in India was a very, very big thing generally. Very, very big thing generally. So, very simply, you have 10-year timeline in 1956. Now, the problem is still not this. Okay, you take 10 years. But the problem is the other provisions. The cabinet mission argued that we will divide Indian provinces into three parts. Now, please pay attention. We'll divide it into three parts. One will be called Hindu majority provinces. This will be the first type of province. Now they are talking about how transfer of power is going to happen. So they will first create the Hindu majority provinces. Then there will be two more type of provinces. Muslim majority in West and Muslim majority in East. So now we have, let's give one example of each. Hindu majority province will be which one? Come on. Hindu majority province. Okay, United Provinces. For example, Bombay. For example, Madras. For example, Odisha. Very good. Muslim majority in the West is going to be which one? West, not East. West. Very good. Northwestern Frontier Province. Great. And the East would be, for example, Assam, or not even Bengal, but Assam. And Assam. Sindh could be an example for the West. So, accordingly, they divided it into three parts. Hindu majority provinces, Muslim majority provinces in West and East. Now you see the scheme of the cabinet mission. The scheme of the cabinet mission was, each of them will write a separate constitution. And together, this is going to become the Indian Constitution. So, three different constitution will be written, and together that will be considered the Indian Constitution. So now the cabinet mission is slowly but surely losing its mind. But that is also okay. Okay, three constitutions come into one constitution. Still okay. But the third clause was the most dangerous. It said that after this Indian Constitution is written, the first general election will happen. And after first general election, if any province wants and if does not like the way it has performed in the first general election, it can leave the union. So it can leave the Union of India. This is the first time they get an opportunity, which is first general election. And thereafter, after 10 years of first general election, they will again get a chance to leave the Union. Now you see how they're basically giving India a ticking time bomb. That 3 constitutions make 1 constitution, and thereafter any province can leave after the first general election or can leave after 10 years of the general election. So this is the point, this is the problem with the British. They give us things, but they give us things in such a way that they make no sense only. According to them, the concept was that first general election will happen, so everybody is going to understand the mandate. If they see that they cannot protect the mandate within that union, they can leave it. And after 10 years, if they have been discriminated against, they can again leave. The basic point of the matter is they are giving us a bomb which explodes twice. The first time it explodes after the first general election, and after 10 years, it will automatically explode. So what it's trying to say, it's technically the Cripps mission. It's technically Cripps mission only, but with delayed exit. Cripps mission, what did it say? That any union or any province which did not want to be part of the union can leave. This is why when this person reaches here, he already has the partition clause in his mind. Stanford Cripps is the person who created this concept in the Cripps mission, that any province, if it wants to leave, can leave the union. But under Cripps mission, it was immediate. Here, he is not making it immediate. He's saying, let the first general election happen. If they want to leave, they can leave. If not, then they can leave after 10 years. Now, Nehru basically was holding his head looking at what the cabinet mission was technically saying, because this means that Indian unity will not be there even, and according to their timeline, till 1966, India would never be stable. Because in 1956, they would give us independence. 56 would be first general election. Certain provinces will leave. And then 66, another election is going to happen by 10 years. Again, people can leave. And at the end of the day, very simply, whatever good they did by saying that there should be no Pakistan, now you see what they've did. What they've done. This is extremely problematic. This is extremely problematic. Because the cabinet mission has no idea how this is going to be implemented. And this is the problem which Mountbatten is going to face. Because Mountbatten, when he came to India, he was given the mandate, implement cabinet mission. But you really think that this is implementable? That you divide provinces, and we can so neatly divide provinces also? No. We can't divide provinces in such a neat manner. Further, what is the point of this first general election and the second? This is 10 years. So, in a way, the cabinet mission, though, is going to be the mandate under which the Indian independence is going to be given. But Mountbatten, when he will land in March of 1947, first thing he will say is that it is an untenable plan. It is not implementable. So obviously, the Congress was never going to accept it. Jinnah, as it is, was very angry with the British. So he was obviously never going to accept this. But the basic point of the matter here is that it's not even that. Thank God for Mountbatten that he did not implement the cabinet mission. So in a way, Mountbatten, he may be whatever. He actually did a good thing by not implementing this. Because this would only have created close to 7 to 8, maybe 10 to 12 Indias. So are we clear with regards to the 4 basic points of the cabinet mission? No Pakistan, division into 3, first general election, and 10 years. You can leave the union. Yes? Great. If you understand that, then let's read it out. See, it rejected the full-fledged concept of Pakistan because the Pakistan so formed would include large non-Muslim population, 38% in the northwest, 48% in the northeast. The very principle of communal self-determination would separate or would create discord, because Hindu majority West Bengal and Hindu dominated Ambala and Jalandhar would now be in a separate country which was technically Muslim dominated. So deep-seated regional ties would be disturbed in Bengal and Punjab if partition. So till this point, they were actually making sense, and this was a good concept. However, they will lose their mind here on, wherein partition would entail economic, administrative, and what we call as communication issues. So therefore, western and eastern parts of Pakistan cannot even exist, though it came into existence in that way. So rather, they proposed in place of that, the division of armed forces would also be dangerous, because then you have Hindu, Muslim, this concept within the armed forces also. So rather, we are going to group all the provincial assemblies into three sections: Hindu majority provinces, Muslim majority provinces, and Muslim majority provinces in the east and in the west and the east. This is going to be our basic idea. Now, how are they going to write a constitution? Each group would form a separate constitution of their own province, which will collectively make the Constitution of India. The Constituent Assembly, 389 members would be formed, and by provincial assemblies, through proportional representation, they would be taken in. So, the proportional representation in provincial assemblies would be needed or would be taken to create the central legislative assembly. Princely states would be free to join the interim government or remain with the British. Now, this is a very interesting thing. Either you join India or you remain with the British. This was not offered by Mountbatten later, because Mountbatten said you can remain independent, which we will see tomorrow when we'll talk about post-independence and princely states issue. But the problem here is, here as of right now, imagine that India exists, and within India there were certain territories which were reporting to the British. A common center would be created with defense, communication, external affairs, and provinces would have full autonomy. Residual powers would be the interim government. Now, the biggest and the most dangerous concept is this. After first general election, a province was free to come out of a group, or after 10 years, a province was free to call for reconsideration of the group or union constitution. Basically, they can write their own constitution and come out of the union or even the group itself. First from the group, and then in the concept of the union. Now, this is basically the what we call as the time bomb clause of the cabinet mission, because herein India would never remain stable for even the first 10 to 15 years. So it is creating an India which is designed to get destroyed or fail. So are we now clear why cabinet mission is problematic, and the provisions are also clear? Because then, as it is, Congress is going to reject the cabinet mission, but that rejection will not matter. No wait for 10 years that we will get it in 1956. They should not join the group in the first place itself. Why no elected member from princely state? League rejected it, and grouping should be compulsory according to the league. Does not really matter. Now, very simply, clear cabinet mission, because now I want to give you the story of Indian independence, and then we'll look at it through the PPT. Yes. See, it's not even coming together federation. Coming together federation still means a center which is powerful, little bit. Here it is full decentralized control. Okay. Are we clear with regards to are we clear with regards to the cabinet mission? Last major mission of India. Okay. Now cabinet mission says, as much as the Congress is going to reject it, Clement Attlee will say that let's go ahead with the cabinet mission plan. But in order to very simply implement cabinet mission, the first thing which is important is that there should be an election which should be held, because the provincial and the central legislative assembly needs to get reconstructed. So now in July of 1946, an election will be planned in India, general election will be planned in India, the last colonial election. And the 1946 July election is considered the most decisive because it sealed the fact that partition was going to happen. Why? Because nobody was ever going to be surprised that the INC did well. It was even able to get a majority in the central provincial assemblies, a central legislative assembly. But it was actually the Muslim League which technically performed the best in their own right. And more than that, their communal discord and their communal agenda had actually succeeded in its plan. Because in this election, League will now start to have what are called slogans, which basically were trying to entice communal violence. Congress already had failed to appropriate the Muslim League by 1936. Now the Muslim League started to get support from the middle class also. They now started to stand. This concept of Pakistan had become very important to them. They also gave very strong slogans that if you do not vote for Muslim League, then you will not be buried in a Muslim graveyard. Ironically, Jinnah was never a proper practicing Muslim also. And none of the leaders who actually were the major leaders of the Muslim League never ever actually never proper practicing Muslims. They were liberal Muslims. So they could have said that we want Pakistan because we want Muslim interests. They were not, they were technically disgraces to Muslims also. So the basic point of the matter is Congress performance is going to be extremely good. 91% of non-Muslim vote is going to be taken. 57 out of the 102 central assembly seats are also going to be taken. They will get the majority in every province except for in Bengal, Sindh, Punjab. And in Northwestern Frontier Province and Assam, the basic point was that the areas in which even Pakistan was created, Congress had a majority. Ironically, where Bangladesh has been made today and where Pakistan is today, Northwestern Frontier Province, both Congress majority was there. So the people who voted for the Congress unfortunately went into Pakistan. And the problem was that Muslim League's performance by this point of time was exceptionally good. All 30 reserved seats in Central Legislative Assembly it takes, but this is the major change. 86.6% of the Muslim vote now goes to the Muslim League. And this is why I say that from zero to hero, in 1936, they had a 3% vote share. 86.6% vote share, all because of Linlithgow, all because of British politics. Now Muslim League either way represented the Muslims in the eyes of the British. And this is why July 1946 elections is considered decisive, because it confirms to us the fact that you have a partition which is going to accompany the Indian independence. And if somebody is going to say that the Muslim League was successful in its agenda, no. It was the British which pushed Muslim League's agenda quite a lot. So by capturing all 30 seats under separate electorates for Muslims, Muslim League had now in a way subsumed all other Muslim parties, and there was no way that now the Muslim League was going to back off. So in a way, it is the failure of the Indian National Congress also, because they had an opportunity 10 years back, and now the same league which was asking for coalition politics and coalition in 1936 in UP has now captured each and every seat of the Central Legislative Assembly reserved for Muslims. It got 3, now 30. This is a very significant moment in Indian history, but because by July of 1946, it was clear that Indian independence will come at a cost of partition. And based on this general election, the interim government will be created. Interim government means this was the government to which the British were going to transfer power. But now Jinnah starts to do drama. The drama is that when it is constituted in September of 1946, the Muslim League first boycotted it. It said that we will not join the government only. And as it is in August of 1946, 16th August 1946, they have what is called the Direct Action Day. That we will take, lad ke lenge Pakistan, we will take Pakistan. This was the last major push for the Muslim League to take Pakistan. So in a way, to give a slap to the cabinet mission, 16th August 1946, this Jinnah will do this drama. Thereafter, the government is not going to listen to it. And in September of 1946, the interim government will be formed, and the leader of the interim government will be Jawaharlal Nehru. Then for 2 months, Jinnah is going to keep on saying Pakistan, 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 Pakistan. Government will say you have to join the interim government for that. And British will not do anything. So by October, after doing all of this drama, by October of 1946, Jinnah will join, the Muslim League will join the interim government. So their steam was over, their fuel was over. So between August to October, they are going to do this drama that we will not join interim government. We will destroy the government itself. How can India be created? We will not. We want Pakistan. Government said that anything. The British said if you want to do anything, you have to join the interim government. So there will be a whole drama which will be done. So July of 1946, election will be held. In July 10th of 1946, Nehru will give a very important statement that independence was coming. Independence was now in touching distance. In July 29th, League withdrew its acceptance of long-term plan. On 16th of August 1946, they will have what is called Direct Action Day with the controversial statement, Ladke Lenge Pakistan, technically not fighting with us, fighting with the British. On 2nd September 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru will be chosen as the head of the interim government, and the Muslim League will initially boycott it. Interim government is nothing but the government to which, or technically the Constituent Assembly to which the British will transfer power. Now you can see basically all the basic ideas are clear. That they have already held an election in 1946. They've already created the basic Central Legislative Assembly. In the provincial election, a Muslim League was even able to get a majority in Bengal and Sindh. But the League was now a dominant party amongst the Muslims. Out of the 507 seats which were reserved for Muslims for all over the provinces, 492 will be won by Muslim League. So therefore, it is only in Punjab where Congress and Akali politics and Unionist party together will block the Muslim League. And that is reflected in their politics. So please understand, now I'm going into Ladke Lenge Mein will fight for Pakistan. The simple point is now I'm going into the phase in which there are multiple events happening together. Cabinet mission said we will go with this scheme. Under cabinet mission, the last general election is done in July of 1946. Thereafter, from July to October, Muslim League will do a drama because it had too much power at this point of time. But they will still not join the interim government when on 2nd September it will be created. But they will join by October of 1946. So by October of 1946, an interim government has been formed, led by Nehru, which should be transferred power, and it would be transferred power under the concept of the cabinet mission, which is that the three constitution formula. So are we clear with regards to what has happened after cabinet mission till October of 1946? Yes, in non-Muslim votes, it is the INC which is technically dominant. So everybody has to tell me, is this making sense? Because multiple instances, multiple things are happening at this point of time. Okay. So we moved from cabinet mission. to the concept of first general elections. Thereafter, no, not first, but we will say last in that regard. Last general election, 1946, and thereafter, from cabinet mission to last general election to interim government. Please understand, the interim government concept is nothing but this is the government to which the British is going to transfer power. Interim government, September of 1946 it is formed, and by October of 1946 the Muslim League has also joined it. Right? This is the basic thing we've covered. Is this okay? Come on. Because then I go into 1947. That is the fateful period of 1947. Okay. Interim means temporary government. Okay. Year of cabinet mission is 1946. March, May. By May it's in India. Okay. Now, so see, after the initial boycott, League joined the interim government in last week of October. 5 League members, including Liaquat Ali Khan, were joined, and who was also the finance minister. Along with that, top leaders of the League stayed away because they still wanted to be part of Pakistan, but namesake they joined the interim government. Now comes the fateful year of 1947. And the first thing which is going to happen is that in February of 1947, Clement Attlee is going to actually announce something very, very important. And Attlee's declaration is going to be that the cabinet mission timeline has been scrapped and Indian independence will be granted in June of 1948. So according to the British government in India, in Britain, their timeline was to give us in June of 1948. In June of 1948. But the question which gets raised is why by 1947 it became a given that the British are going to leave India. So it's not that one random day Attlee actually woke up and said that, okay, that we are going to leave India. And the reason for that is very simple. The British political, economic, and social condition was not stable to hold on to India. It needed resources and a certain power which it did not hold. Further, Indianization of the ICS meant bureaucracy was also not reliable. And if that was not enough, communal violence was rising. And basically riots were becoming common. And last but not the least is the fact that the USA pressure, which is Cold War USA pressure, was also immense, which is that USA was orchestrating what is called as a concept of decolonization because it wanted the British to become extremely weak. It wanted the British to become extremely weak. So Attlee's declaration of June of 1948 was not based on random things. The ICH could not be trusted. Army cannot be trusted. Army cannot be trusted. So very simply, it's a proper mess which the British, and more than that, see, now to hold on to India, a lot of manpower, a lot of resolve was needed. British political power should have been powerful enough. But by 1947, Britain was totally in the tatters. And Britain had taken the toll of the Second World War, and it had no, see, basically, Britain did not have the capacity to fight Indian nationalism, because now it would be literally quit India type movements. Quit India type movements. So in that, yes, in a way, therefore, in a way, uh, Second World War paved way for decolonization, not just in India but in Africa also. The simple point is Attlee is the Prime Minister's declaration that India will be given independence by June of 1948 is basically the British giving up. They gave up on India. Then now it was too hard to hold on to India. Yes, police was also not trustworthy, sure. The simple point is it was extremely hard to hold on to India now, because now it would be about fighting with the people left, right, and center. And as it is, communal violence was becoming more and more. Pakistan issue was becoming problematic. And very simply, the interim government had been formed. So therefore, Clement Attlee was now inclined to give India independence as soon as possible, not in the 10-year timeline. So I hope that you can imagine that it is basically it's the victory of Indian nationalism, that the British did not have the willpower to fight it. So now somebody asks you why 1947, you are in the right position to very simply tell them why did India get independence in 1947? Yes or no? Yes? Very good. So now you understand this also. Now, June of 1948 had been decided as the timeline, Now it needed to be implemented. So the problem which Attlee has is that Wavell is a little bit slow. So in March of 1947, Wavell is actually brought back, is recalled back. So we started with the cabinet mission, it creating that whole concept of no Pakistan and the three and this and that. So because it said no Pakistan, so the Pakistan agenda became too vocal. Last general elections happens in 1946. Muslim League shows its power. And now interim government is formed by September. October, Muslim League joins it. Further, Clement Attlee claims in 1947, February 1947, that we are going to give India independence in June of 1948. We were trying to understand why 1947, because Britain does not have the capacity, social, economic, political situation very unstable, cannot hold on to India, certain power and capacity is needed which is not there. ICS cannot be trusted, army cannot be trusted, Cold War politics is too much, and communal violence is rising. Now, a lot of you ask me, what was Gandhiji doing, or what was Gandhi doing? The answer to that question is he is right now fully oriented towards quenching the communal violence. So Gandhi was going from one place to the other where riots were happening to stop Hindu-Muslim violence. So Gandhi's orientation as of right now is not to be part of the interim government, but was to remove communal discord. So the simple point of the matter is Jinnah was created by the British, and now Jinnah is getting what he wants. because at the end of the day, because if cabinet mission would have said we will give you Pakistan, maybe communal violence had not gone to the level it was in 1947. But because cabinet mission said no Pakistan, the agenda became extremely vocal. And therefore, though they joined the interim government in namesake, the Pakistan issue was going to create a lot of violence in India, generally between this engineered violence of Hindu Muslims, the Muslim League based violence. Now, when March of 1947, now again, clear, right? You're getting the context. You're getting the context, what I'm trying to say. Yes, that very simply, there's a intersection of a lot of issues together. So when in March of 1947, the British will send Mountbatten to India. Mountbatten is going to now become the last British appointed Governor General and Viceroy. He will be appointed the Governor General and Viceroy, because Wavell, he did not have the capacity or even the understanding to do anything. So the mandate which Mountbatten has been given by Attlee is figure out how to transfer power. And as soon as Mountbatten comes to India and looks at the situation in India, Mountbatten straightforward rejected the cabinet mission plan. He said that the cabinet mission plan of threefold division was not going to be possible. So now Attlee says to Mountbatten, we need alternative solution. And the alternative solution will therefore be worked out between March and May of 1947, which is called the ISME or Dickey Bird plan. The ISME or Dickey Bird plan, same thing, first introduced by ISME and then by Dickey Bird. These are two names of officers, ISME and Dickey Bird plan. And ISME and Dickey Bird plan, which was contemplated between March and May of 1947, is even more dumb than anything. Can I discuss ISME and Dickey Bird with you? Yes? Okay. Now, what was the plan which was proposed by ISME and Dickey Bird is, and understand the absurdity and the foolishness of these two officers, that according to ISME, let us do one thing. Let us not give India independence, or let us not transfer power to India. Let us transfer power to each province. And then let the province decide, does it want to become part of the union or not. This is also called the Plan Balkan. Plan Balkan, or what we call as the Balkanization of India would have happened. Balkanization, because when we will discuss world history, I will tell you, when the First World War happens, it is based on the Balkan issue. Balkans are a mountain range in the Eastern European sector, and there are certain countries which were very problematic there also. They will become the reason for the First World War. And the same way, this fragmentation of polity is called Balkanization. So ISME was saying, okay, there are 11 provinces, give each one of them independence and let them decide that should they come together or not. Should they come together or not? Now, when Nehru was proposed this, Nehru sat there with his head and said that, have you all lost your mind? If you are going to give each and every province independence, do you really think that India and Pakistan will be formed? Because then there will be 11 countries which will be formed. And everybody is power hungry. There's a very good chance Madras will become a separate country, Bengal will become a separate country, and Bombay will become a separate country. This is called the dumbest plan possible, which was proposed just 3 months before independence. So the ISME and Dickey Bird plan is considered very simply the worst of the worst solutions to the issue and a worst alternative to the cabinet mission. Rather, you give us cabinet mission. That is better. At least 10 years so we can stay in peace. This so they are technically going to create India and then divide India as much as possible. So this is rejected by Nehru. Nehru says, I am not going to ever accept it. This is not, you are saying that cabinet mission is untenable. This is even more untenable. Now what is going to happen is the Bengal legislature could see that the British are not able to figure out what they're trying to do. So the Bengal provincial legislature will propose their own plan, which is called the Bengal Pact or Shoravardi Sarad Bose plan or the Sarad formula, which is Bengal would become an independent state. And in that, there will be 16 members of Muslims and 14 members of Hindus. This is going to be the constitution making constituent assembly. Interim government will have Muslim CM, Hindu home minister, proportional representation in legislature. And they would only win if you are able to get majority of votes of your own community, 25% of the votes of the other community. And they will share their jobs in military and police. So Nehru said to Sarad Bose and the Shoravardi Sarad Bose plan, we are not creating a separate Bengal. This was the idea of creating a proper new country called Bengal itself. So you can see at the moment of our independence, there are propositions in which they wanted to create multiple countries out of India. Now, as soon as, very simply, Mountbatten is going to get to know this, that Nehru has rejected it, now he needed to give a solution. And his solution is faithfully called the 3rd June plan of 1947, or what is called Mountbatten plan. And it is this plan which was added to the India Independence Act and under which India was given independence. Under Mountbatten plan, 2 dominions will be created, one called India and the other one called Pakistan. There will be a boundary commission which will sit and create the boundary between India and Pakistan. However, partition will only happen based on plebiscite of Bengal and Northwestern Frontier Province and Punjab. But this was actually never applied, which we will see tomorrow when I'll start post-independence with you, when I'll discuss partition with you in proper detail. But Mountbatten plan, in principle, rejected the concept of multiple states, but created 2 dominions called India and Pakistan. And the government of India will send it to the British. The British will ratify it by 17th June of 1947. And on 15th August 1947, we will be given our independence. Make sense? Let me read it out to you and then we can close modern India main story. Yes? Okay. So February of 1947, Nehru wrote a letter to Clement Attlee about the approach of the League. In February of 1947, 20th February 1947, Attlee declared that India would be freed in June of 1948. Also announced that Mountbatten is going to be the last Governor General of India. Thereafter, you have Mountbatten who will propose the 3rd June plan. But in between that, there's a plan which is called the Plan Balkan or the Balkanization of India, or which is called also the ISME plan. And the same plan will be called also the concept of Dickey Bird. So between March and May of 1947, Mountbatten now decided, Mountbatten now decided that the cabinet mission plan was untenable and an alternative plan was needed. This was given to a committee under General Hastings, Ismay, Sir Abel, and Lord Mountbatten himself. They will propose and figure this out in 15th-16th April. Ismay was the president. That's why it's called the Ismay plan in that regard. What did it propose? It said transfer of power to separate provinces: Madras, Bombay, United Provinces, Bengal, Punjab, everybody. With Punjab and Bengal opting for to vote for partition. The various units thus formed, along with the princely states, would have the option to join India and Pakistan or remain separate. The main proposal was that the province should become independent successor states first and then join India and Pakistan. Now, this plan will again be changed a little bit as called Dicky Bird plan, and thereafter it will be introduced to Nehru, where Nehru will basically reject it and say that this plan will balkanize India, and therefore Mountbatten will cancel both Ismay and Dicky Bird plan, and he will come up with his own plan, which is called the Mountbatten plan. And the Mountbatten plan was that on 15th August 1947, India would get independence and if one group of Punjab and Bengal Assembly demands for partition, it would be done. That would be done through plebiscite. Sindh would decide whether it wants to partition or not. Northwestern Frontier Province will again have plebiscite. If partition happened, Boundary Commission will be headed by Sir Cyril Radcliffe. Princely states would have the concept of either remaining independent or join India and Pakistan, which I'm going to discuss tomorrow. And under that, on July 18, 1947, the India Independence Act is passed by the British Parliament, having the Mountbatten Plan within it. And the implementation is going to be on 15th August 1947. The Act said, and you can see that the British got the last laugh, that two independent dominions will be created, and each dominion will have their own Governor General. And very simply, the Constituent Assembly of each will thereafter start to write their constitution. The Central Legislative Assembly and the Council of State will be abolished. In the transitionary period, they will work under the Government of India Act 1935. Jinnah was waiting to become something, so he will become the first Governor General of Pakistan. But India knew that they had to deal with Pakistan, so they said that nobody wants to take this headache. So they said to Mountbatten, you only remain the first Governor General of independent India. We'll figure it out later. C. Rajagopalachari is going to become the first Indian, what we call as Governor General and Viceroy, or rather Governor General in that regard. But we kept Mountbatten with us so that we could deal with Jinnah in that way. And with this, India got independence. And your Katha Kahani, the Adhyay called Modern India, is over. So, very simply, India gets independence on 15th August 1947, but that came at a cost called the partition, which we discuss tomorrow. So, at the stroke of 7:19 a.m. on 11th May 2023, we grant India independence. So, we started in 1613, rather in 1498, and today we have reached 1947, therefore completing the main timeline of modern India. Done. Adhyay samapta, end of story. And I hope all of this made sense to you. Now I have to do 3-4 things with you. First, I have to give you the master timeline. Then I have to do miscellaneous topics with you. I have to do previous year questions with you. But very simply, are we clear with regards to India getting independence? Did it make sense? I'm asking you a very standard, random question. You have been told a lot of these stories in your schools, in your colleges, and this and that. But did it actually make sense this time that how we started with one farman given by Jahangir and we ended with Indian Independence Act? Because there's a logic to modern India. Everything happens in a certain logic. And if you can understand that logic, you will never have to learn this story, but you will actually understand this story. So very simply, what now we are going to do, I'm going to give you a break. When I come back, I'll have a proper discussion with you vis-a-vis the concept of the master timeline. Then I will discuss the previous year questions with you, and then we'll do the miscellaneous topics. So I hope this much is acceptable. But as of 7:30, we have now given India independence. The main story of modern India is over. The main story of modern India is over. If it is 50%, 60%, 100%, you just have to revise it once from the PPT. I will talk about the strategy also, what we need to follow to cover all of this in that regard. Right? Okay. So I'll give you the master timeline only after the break. As of right now, you are happy to be independent as it is. So tomorrow our agenda is going to be to take post-independence as the issue, which is I'll talk about partition, the issues related to the partition, what was the concept of communal violence, refugee crisis, the issues which India inherited. Then tomorrow itself we will talk about the princely state issue. If you remember, paramountcy concept I've not introduced to you 1%. That concept I will introduce to you tomorrow. Paramountcy, princely states, integration of princely states. We'll talk about Junagadh, we'll talk about Hyderabad, we'll talk about Bhopal, we'll talk about Kashmir. And on Saturday, and everybody should note, on Saturday between 9 to 11:30 a.m. This is your time for the Saturday class, 13th of May 2023. I was going to say 1947, 2023, 9 to 11:30 a.m. we have an extra class on Saturday. Please note this. On this day, we will discuss language issue, official language controversy, and the linguistic reorganization of India. And on Monday, we will end by discussing regional inequality, wars, and the concept of what we call as India managing the Cold War politics itself. Right? This is the basic agenda. So we take a break right now, and we will come back at 7:33 a.m. When I'm back, master timeline. Perfect. I have to give you the list of governor generals. I have to give you the list of newspapers. I also have certain things in the PPT. I know that. Don't worry about that, Rashmi. But can you tell me one thing? Can you tell me one thing before I do that? In the lecture which right now is happening, under its resources, does it have a file saying newspaper and governor generals? It should be a PDF file. Can you confirm? Somebody can confirm that to me? Yes, it has. Everybody, come on, check once and please confirm that to me. If not, I will, if it is there. No, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It has. It has. It should have two resources under it. One would be called unannotated PPT, and the other one would be related to, it would say very simply, what we call as newspapers and governor general, where the SME, can you push the link to that? The concept of it should be under resources. You download the unannotated PPT, right? SME, just push the link in the chat section. A student, if you can give me the link, I'll make it public only. There is Krishna Vardha, please just give me that link in the chat box. I'll make it public. SME, please do that. Push the link for that. It should be there in your resources. You download what is called unannotated PPT, in which there's nothing written. Same place there should be also one file. Yes, it is there. Right, it is there. I'm waiting for you to push a link to me so that I can make it public. Just copy that link and paste it here. Very good. Thank you, Nisarga. Thank you so much for that. I'll make it public. I think I've pushed one. This you have to copy and paste, and it should be taking you to that. I think. See, in the next 10 minutes, just check. There should be a PDF for sure. There should be a PDF for sure. Right? If it isn't there, we'll sort it out. That's not an issue. That's not an issue. Right? Can I take a break? Are we clear with regards to this? The PDF is there. I'll increase the break time. Don't worry about that. Confirm something to me, because that is a very important list which is there. It's not opening. See. You know how to go into your dashboard. You know how to go and check your annotated, unannotated PPTs. Same way, unannotated PPT, it will be under resources. Check it out when I'm back in the next 10 minutes. Meanwhile, the SME is going to push you a link to you. Don't worry about that. Okay? Perfect. So yeah, I'll talk about answer writing also today. I'll talk about mains questions also. So we'll be back at 7:50 Let's be back at 7:40. Let me figure this out also. Paste it in the browser and it will open. Mandeep is saying, please, we'll figure it out. Dashboard, timetable, today's date, and then you can open it. Thank you. I'll be back at 7:40. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Bisal, there's a glitch for that. That will be sorted. Don't worry. Everybody got the file. Everyone has access to the file. Yes. SMEs also pushed the new link. Let me also copy and paste it once. One second. I'm checking myself if this link is actually okay. SME, what you've pushed is again wrong file link. Wrong file. What you've pushed is the link for the unannotated PPT. You have to send the link for newspaper and Governor General. I know, I just checked that. This link is not correct. The 731 link is not correct. Please push the right link. Yes, now you've pushed the right link. Delete that one. Delete that one. 731, you delete. It should open. Just copy that link. It is not a clickable link. Just Control C, copy it and paste it. Yes, now that's the right file. The link which has been pushed to you right now is the correct one. Now you get it. Now opening. No issues now. Come on. Everybody has the access to this file. I want everybody's assertion. Now the correct link has been posted at 7:42 a.m. Right? Great. Perfect. So where to paste it? Go to the URL. URL you would say byju'sexamprep.com. Just open a new tab and paste it there. Okay. Now we have to discuss, and rather we have to consolidate everything. So Indian independence is done. Where to paste it? Into your browser URL, where you have the place where you actually keep it. Okay. It would say Byju's exam prep, this / / something something. Okay. Indian independence done. Main modern India done. I have now I very specifically uploaded one file to you, and that file basically, if you will see, has list of all books and journals which were published, along with their publishing date and the person who published it if available. And then if you go down, you will see Governor General of Bengal, Governor Generals, Viceroys, and what happened under them. So this file is important for you. I am not asking you to learn it, but because it is my task to give you everything which is available to you in your fingertips, it should be easily accessible. This I've given to you. You don't have to learn word to word. Don't have to even go through each and every viceroy. Just look at this file from time to time. Don't try to learn it, because nobody can. There are multiple newspapers which are mentioned. Just look at their names and that's it. But this is basically to add to your resource, to add to the PPT. So I am not asking you to learn each one of them. I'm just giving it to you for your reference, so that you have the personal satisfaction that yes, I have all the Governor General's list, and I also have the list for all the newspapers. Is this clear? Is this clear? This is a totally prelims oriented area. No, and whatever question you will expect from that PDF is all prelims. So it is for your reference. It is for your personal satisfaction. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the master timeline with you. Once I'm done with the master timeline, I am going to thereafter go into the previous year questions, prelims. Then we'll cover the miscellaneous topics, and then we'll back with the mains question. Acceptable? Okay, great. So let's revise. Let's revise. And this I called this is called the master timeline. Every important event which needs to be remembered, every date which I write here has to be remembered, other than whatever micro timelines I've given you. If you've realized one thing, after 1857, every class I've given you one timeline. Now I'm putting that down and giving you a much bigger one, which is like your basic way of revising. So let's create the timeline itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, it should be done in 5 pages. I'm marking the pages so that you have reference. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now let's add the dates first. Let's add the dates. I don't want to start with Farooq CR or that. I want to start with 1498, 1500, 1510, thereafter 1529, then come to the British timeline, 1613, 1615, 1632, 1639, 1651, 1717. Okay, so what is the importance of this? This is Vasco da Gama coming to India. So you can see I'm taking full. If you were there with me in the first class, we're taking full circle. So this is going to be very important exercise. You are going to revise with me everything what we've done till this point. 1500 is Cabral coming to India. 1510 is Goa is acquired from Bijapur. Goa becomes capital of Portuguese. This is the only thing which I want to discuss about the Portuguese. Now I am going to go into the real timeline which matters to us, which is 1613 and 15. Both are considered the Jahangir Farmans. 1613 is grants Surat access first factory. Thereafter 1615 is access to Ahmedabad, Broch, Mausoleepatnam, Agra, Bengal. 1632, what is it called? Come on, tell me. What is it called? Yes, very good. Good. Remember everything. Golden Farman, which is Golconda ruler. Very good. 1639, what is it called? Chandragiri Farman. Wow, on fire today. Very good. Chandragiri Farman. Madras as the headquarters. This is Shah Shuja Farman. Very good. Sasuja Farman. This gives Bengal for rupee, not pounds, but rupees 3,000. This was 500 pagodas. And then the Magna Carta of the British in India, which is called the Farrukhsiyar Farman. Very good. Farrukhsiyar Farman, which is very simply the concept of you have 10,000 rupees for Surat, mint coins, you have Bengal for 3,000 rupees, and you have Dastak concept. Very good. Perfect. See, Battle of Chaul, Dew, Aarti are important. But if I add it to the master timeline, then it will take me a day to make the master timeline only. Master timeline, don't clutter it. I know you know Dew and Chaul, but if you will start to add it, it will become cluttery. It has to be precise that these dates cannot be missed only. Okay, 1717 we reached. Now 1757, 1764, 65. Thereafter, for example, if you've seen, I have not added Bombay, 1661. I have not added. 1668, I have not added. Though if I want, I can add 1661 to 1668 Bombay access to East India Company. So I'm not trying to clutter it. So 1757, 1764, 65. Thereafter 1773, because I'm now adding the constitutional history into it only. 1773, 1784. Thereafter you have 1793, 1813, 1833. Thereafter 1853, 1857, 1858. This is the shorter timeline because here the events we have to jump quickly. So you have Plassey, Buxar, and Grant of Diwani. 1773 is what? Regulating Act. This is Pitt's India Act. Thereafter 1793, and all of these together are nothing but Charter Acts. 1757 is 1857 is the revolt of 1857. This is Government of India Act 1858. You have micro timelines in this also from what are these? These would be economic exploitation of India. In between from 7 you have this, which is education and socio-religious reform. You have direct and indirect conquest. You also have this period in which India, the basic consolidation of Raj. This is all company rule. Hereafter it is going to be called crown rule. So wars again not added because wars you need to know the sequence, nothing more, nothing less. This is Pitch India Act. This creates the Governor General of Bengal plus 4. This is Board of Control and Court of Directors. This is nothing but 5 lakh pounds. This is India monopoly gone, missionaries, and 1 lakh pounds for 1 lakh rupees 1 lakh rupees. 1833 is China monopoly gone. This is open competition. This is the culmination of resistance, and this is the concept of viceroy and secretary of state. I presume that you know the other details. This is only to give you a feel of it. That much comfort level you should have. I'm just trying to give you the dates in that regard, right? Minor details, you know. This is the timeline in that regard. Perfect. Great. So you, in that sense, have become an expert, which is very, very good. Now we come to the crown period, and now becomes the timeline becomes interesting. 1861, 1885, 1892, 1905, 1897, then you have 1905, then you have 1907, 1909, 19 we can add 19, we can shift to 1911, shift of capital if you want to, then 1913 to 15, and then 1915. So this is Indian Council Act. This is formation of INC. This is again Indian Council Act. This is start of revolutionary activities, which is Chapekar brothers. This is partition of Bengal, Swadeshi. This is Surat split. Then 1909 is Morley Minto reforms. This is shift of capital. This is Gadar movement, and this is Home Rule League. And yeah, Home Rule League. We'll add the Lucknow Pact in the next one. We'll add it in the next one. Basic point, 1861 is known for portfolio system. 1892 is known for, this is 3 Indians in Legislative Council. This is known for indirect elections. This is known for Morley-Minto separate electorates. And this period is called moderate phase. Thereafter, till this period, it is called the extremist phase. Any issue in this timeline, anyone? Till 1915, 16, 15, I will pick up in the next timeline again, which is Gandhi coming back. Okay, no issues. So we move to the next timeline. Again, 1915, 19 16, 1917, 1918, 1919, 1920, 1922, 1923, 1924, 1925, 1925. We keep it. Let's go till only Swarajis, no changes in this. Okay, this is Gandhi's return to India. Gandhi's return to India. Thereafter, 1916 is Lucknow Pact. 1917 is Champaran and Kheda. That's only Champaran. Kheda and Ahmedabad same year. Kheda, Ahmedabad. This is Rowlatt Satyagraha and Jallian Wala Bagh. 1920. Yes, this is also the year of Montague Chelmsford reforms. 1920 Khilafat issue, non-cooperation movement, Chauri Chaura. Thereafter, Swarajist, no changes. Gandhi's endorsement to Swarajists, and here is non-responsivists and responsivists. Okay, so here we only have to add hierarchy, legislative, jurisdictional division. Other than that, this is self-explanatory, right? This is self-explanatory. 1924 is Gandhi will endorse the Swarajist when he will come out of the jail itself. Responsivist, non-responsivist also related to the Swarajist, no changes. Now, responsivist, non-responsivist to communal ideas or not. 1925, you want me to add HRA also. HRA 1925. For sure, want to add HRA. Okay. HRA and Kakori. Train action. Okay, Kakori. Okay. Now, anybody had any issue in this one? Again, quite self-explanatory in itself. Because now the events in themselves are equally enough. Okay. Now we move to 1927, 1928, 1929, 1930, 1931, 1932, 1933, 1934, 1935. So 1927, Simon Commission. Thereafter, 1928, you have Nehru report. Saunders murder is which year? HRA I've written, Subhash. Saunders murder which year? 1928, very good. Saunders murder. Then after 1929 is Jinnah, 14 points. Central legislative bombing. Thereafter, you also have 1929 Irwin Declaration. Delhi Manifesto, Lahore Session, and Purna Swaraj Resolution. Thereafter, 1930, yes, HSRA, HSRA, HSRA. Now, 1930 is going to be 11-point ultimatum, Dandi March, CDM Phase 1, Round Table Conference 1. Thereafter, 1931, Gandhi Irwin Pact, Round Table Conference 2, CDM Phase 2 launched. Pune Pact, McDonald Award, and you have governmental repression. 1933, Round Table Conference 3. 1933, CDM suspended, CDM withdrawn, and this is Government of India Act 1935. In this period onward, Gandhi Harijan campaign. Any issue here? I don't think so. We are slowly but surely moving towards independence again. So I hope that you are finding this useful. It's a way of basically revising. So I hope that it's making sense to you. Now, 6th, 6, 7. So you have 1935 we started. So 38, 1939, 1940, 1941, 1942, 1943, 1944, 1945. 36 elections you want to add into this. 1936 elections. Okay. 1938 Haripura session. This is Tripuri session. Gandhi and Bose. 1940 is August offer. And remember that from this point onwards, this whole period is Second World War. Second World War. You have August offer, 1941. August offer, Ramgarh session, Wardha resolution. Thereafter, 1941, you have individual satyagraha. This is Quit India Crips mission. But there's another timeline here. Mohan Singh forms the INA. Bangkok Conference. India Independence League. Subhash Chandra Bose joins the INA. Imphal campaign. INA trials. INA trials. Wavell Conference. And Second World War ends. Any issue here? Come on. This is the basic timeline. Forward block, don't add that. Too small an issue to be added. Now the most important, February 1946, May 1946, August 1946, October 1946. Thereafter February 1947, March 1947. You have May 1947, June 1947, and 15th August 1947. So you have RIN mutiny, cabinet mission. This is what we did today. So we reach where we started in the morning. You have interim government, Muslim League joins interim government, Attlee declaration. Thereafter, March, you have March to May is Ismay and Dickey Bird. Mountbatten comes. 3rd June plan. Indian independence with partition. Done, everyone. 7 pages of timeline to basically give you the whole story of Indian nationalism. Modern India in 7 pages. This is all what you have to learn. So Wavell plan I've added there. So we start in 1498. So till 1707. Thereafter, perfect. So I hope you will revise from this, and by the end of your preparation, you should be capable of making this yourself. So the homework is learn in such a way that you should be able to make this yourself by the end of it. Done? So this is how you revise. This is all of those 22 classes, 21 classes in one go itself, 7 timelines. So can we do previous year questions, prelims? Then we'll do the miscellaneous topics which are not that important, but we still have to do it. And then we'll do the questions related to mains. Yes? Okay, great. So then do Saunders assassination, already told. Saunders assassinated by Bhagat Singh and Azad for killing Lala Lajpat Rai. Okay. Please, little bit attention. You have to now answer. Latest question. With reference to the proposals of Cripps mission, consider the following statements. I'll give you the strategy, don't worry. The Constituent Assembly would have members nominated by the provincial assemblies as well as the princely states. Any province which is not prepared to accept the new constitution would have the right to sign a separate agreement with the British regarding its future status. Come on, very, very easy question if you remember the basic ideas. Which of the following statements are correct? Everybody has to answer. Come on, come on, come on. Direct action day, Sachin, don't worry about that. 25, 29, 34, 11%. Okay. So, revision. See. Cripps mission, did it say that all of the members which will be there in the Constituent Assembly will be through nomination? What did it say? From provincial assemblies, it was going to be what? It was going to be proportional representation. And from the princely state, it was going to be the concept of nominated members. The Constituent Assembly members were nominated only from princely states, not from provincial assemblies. For that, there was proportional representation. So the people who have marked C or A, what do you need? What do you need? You need revision. That is why I gave you August offer and Cripps mission side by side. Because if you look at it, the wording is very important. Read the line very, very closely. Second, says any province which is not prepared to accept the new constitution would have the right to a separate agreement. Obviously, this is the partition clause. So, isn't the answer B? Is this question difficult? Is this question difficult? They've asked you some extraordinary question. No. You just have to basically brush your classes, the basic PPTs. Any question can be answered from the PPT. So that is why a lot of you ask me this question, that is the PPT enough? Yes, it is. But still, I'll tell you the strategy. Any province which is not prepared can leave the union. That was the concept, right? Proportional representation for provincial assemblies, dominion outside the empire, and the concept of partition clause, wherein Stanford Cripps offered the fact that if you don't want to remain in the union, you leave it. So it's a very standard question, very easy question. Minority issue being the last point. Yes. So is this question clear? Not difficult, only needs understanding. The wording of the questions matter. You will see in the next question also. Now think like a Britisher. Come on. In the Government of India Act 1919, the functions of the provincial government were divided into reserved and transferred. Which of the following were treated as reserved subjects? Administration of justice, local self-government, land revenue, and police. Think like a Britisher and now tell me how this hierarchy will put in these basic ideas. Come on. I have given you this much understanding to think like a Britisher, even think like Jinnah, but don't do that. But here you have to think like a Britisher. Very good. Perfect. Great. Pat on the back. You are true to your British roots. The Britishers would be really, really, really inspired and very proud of you today that you were able to decode this. See, reserved are things which the Executive Council and the Governor does, and transferred are the useless subjects. Out of administration of justice, local self-government, land review, and police, which is the most useless subject out of it, where basically local self-government means panchayat and all. Land revenue, police, and justice, the government would never give it up to the legislative council. It would always keep it with the executive council. So if you are able to understand, that 3 and 4 has to be there, there are two options which are there for 3 and 4, which is land revenue and police, so never they will give. Till today, it is something which is the state subject has. So the basic point is it was about deciding 1 or 2. Justice is something which they would never give. Local self-government, panchayats, if people are getting justice or not, they don't care. So the two questions which came last time, I've done 2 in the beginning with you, all are application-based questions. They're not asking you facts. They're not asking you who is the father, mother, sister of anybody. They're asking you very simple, straightforward, application-based questions. So this process I'm doing with you is because you need to understand what to do with the information which you have. And the information which you have, very simply, should be applicable. You should be able to apply yourself. That is why I did 1.5 hours of Government of India Act 1935, Government of India Act 1919. So do you understand those acts? Clear? Can I move to the next question? Okay, great. Now please read the lines very clearly. The Montague Chelmsford reforms of 1919 recommended granting voting rights to all the women above the age of 21. The Government of India Act 1935 gave women reserved seats in legislature. I know what is going to happen, but let's see if you are able to overcome that itself. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. If you're not able to get the question, don't get demoralized. If you're able to get the question, then again, don't be too motivated. Previous year questions, it's not about that. It's about understanding how to prepare yourself. If you are not able to do it, just go through the PPTs once more. Everything will come to you. Very good. 48% read it very, very closely, and 30% of you did not apply your understanding of separate electorates. And yeah, that is the basic point. See, first and foremost point, all the women, universal female franchise, recommended granting. This is called an extreme statement. So this is totally not the answer. This cannot be the answer because it's an extreme statement. The British never gave anything to all. But now the people who have see, the answer here is B. If you've answered D, then you need to tell me one thing. The Government of India Act 1935 gave women reserve seats. Now tell me one thing. Government of India Act gave separate electorates to women, labor, depressed classes. Yes. Now tell me one thing. Be it joint electorate or be it separate electorate, what is the first thing which happens? What is the first thing which happens? The seat is reserved. Very good. Very good. This is what the question is asking you. It is not saying 1935 gave women reserved seats. It did. It's not saying after that joint or separate. If it said with joint electorates, then the statement would have been incorrect. UPSC is checking, is your understanding of separate electorates and joint electorates clear? Either way, seat is going to get reserved. So that is why they gave you this statement. So they are not checking again that do you remember it is separate electorates. It would have made the question easy. To make it a little bit difficult, what they've done is they've just written reserve seats. Getting my point? How the answer is 2 only. Because if you are overthinking, then you will mark this question, this statement incorrect. Because you are presuming something in your mind. You are presuming something in your mind. Next one. Please don't sit there clueless. Ask me if you have some doubt. I will tell you that. Please understand these questions are pure application of your understanding. That is it. How reserved with joint electorates is incorrect because did the women get joint electorates? They got separate electorates. So that is the basic point. Sneha, don't worry. Don't just be in class. If there's a glitch, don't worry. Okay. Now, the Gandhi-Irwin Pact included which of the following? Invitation to Congress to participate in roundtable conference, withdrawal of ordinances promulgated in connection with civil disobedience movement, acceptance of Gandhi's suggestion for inquiry into police excesses, release of only those prisoners who were not charged with violence. Come on. This should be slam dunk for you. Very easy question. If you have again been paying attention, basic understanding, you can get this question correct. Invitation means to invite someone. Great. Perfect. Perfecto. 64%. B. See, two things were rejected. Two things were rejected by Irwin. First, no inquiry into police excesses and commutation of Bhagat Singh. Two options left. Did the roundtable conference be attended by the Congress? Yes, it was. So one is common to both. Now we need to decide if 2 and 4 is correct or not. 80,000 people were released, satyagrahis. That was the trade-off. And all ordinances related to civil disobedience would be taken back. If you can eliminate, you can come to 50-50. And automatically you can answer. One, it is automatically giving. You only have to decide this. So again, attention is needed. Basic understanding is needed. Nothing more, nothing less. Ordinances meaning anything which ordinance is nothing but a law which is passed by the viceroy within his own right, 6 months validity. Okay. See, if you are not getting it correct, doesn't matter. You have not revised anything, Saurabh or anybody. So you please try to understand how are you going to now prepare by looking at the questions. Are you getting the point of doing these questions? See, a lot of students solve previous year questions and they're like happy. Yes, I solved all previous year questions. Previous year questions are guiding light. They tell you how to prepare yourself for reading the material. So if you're not getting that incorrect, you need correct, you only have to revise once and automatically it will come to you. So it's not demoralizing. It should be rather encouraging that, okay, this is what they're asking me. I will remember, I will learn, and then I will solve. So don't get demoralized. That's not the point of this discussion. Okay. Consider the following pairs. Now, the problem is that you can't solve this question. I have to teach you something, then we'll come back to this question. Because you don't know self-respect movement. I'll discuss that. Okay, this. Who of the following organized a march on the Tanjore coast to break the salt law in April of 1930? This should be easy for you. Saurabh, again, you have answered something. You tell me how is that person related to the CDM? Perfect. 66%. C. Rajagopalachari. 3 marches happened. One by Gandhi, the other one by C. Rajagopalachari on Tanjore coast, Tamil Nadu, and the other one by whom? Malabar coast. Who was it? K.K. Nair. Perfect. So, Saurabh, you answered Annie Besant. Annie Besant is related to the Home Rule League movement. Has nothing to do. K. Kamraj we will discuss tomorrow when we'll discuss, or on Monday, syndicate against Indira Gandhi. And Chidambaram Pillai, again, not related to anything related to the Salt March or even the CDM. So again, here they've just asked a very standard question, simple question. So with this, we finish the previous year questions related to prelims. We'll be back with the mains once I'm done with the topics we have to discuss. I'll show you the leaderboard once. So you have Anshika, thereafter XY, then Atmakuri, then Krishna, Soumya, for the first time I'm seeing her name, Janvi, Rupali, Vardha, thereafter Raghav, Jatin, Chiranjeevi, Ankishtha, and Nirbhay, along with Vishnu Prasad. Thereafter, one question incorrect for Chetan, Madhvi, Saurabh. See, this really doesn't matter. 3 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 100 out of 10, 1 out of 10, doesn't matter. If you're getting all correct, perfect. If you're not getting one correct, no one an issue. Just keep it simple. My only request to you is, Don't get demoralized by it. You just need application and you need revision. So can we all move to the areas we have to cover? Before that, we can agree that the questions are not difficult, they are not out of this world, they are not extraordinary, and UPSC is only asking you conceptual questions. So therefore, I take away out of this discussion that my preparation is going to be perfect if I'm going to revise. Can we all agree to this? Yes. The more you will solve questions, the better it will be for you. Use the previous year questions as a guiding light. Revision, and I can guarantee you can answer any of these questions. Okay. Now, there are 2-3 things left for today. Now, please understand this point that I am going to discuss. These are the 7. Yeah. There are miscellaneous topics. Now, there are 3 topics which we have to cover. First is called the what is called the temple entry movement. This is related to the social religious reform, but it happened during CDM, so I kept it separately. Then it is called ICS committees. And thereafter, Dr. Ambedkar has already done. You have the last, which is called press regulations. Now, I can guarantee to you one thing. I've already given you the newspapers. I've already given you Governor Generals. And we will discuss the Congress sessions list also. Now, one thing I need to tell you very clearly. There is nobody in this world who can remember all press regulations because it is quite heavy, literally heavy. And for the students who have the newspaper and Governor Generals, it's what we call as a PDF. In these slides, I've done one more thing. Which is that I have also added these tables. This is again for your personal satisfaction, that sir has given us all the papers and journals, their founders, their facts, and everything. So I have added this again to this PPT, totally for your reference. I'm not asking you to remember it, but because I don't want you to run to places to find these things, every possible journal, every possible paper, every possible newspaper has all been listed to you via this PPT. So please, I have a very strong request to you. Do not learn this. Do not learn it in the beginning. When you are extremely comfortable with modern India, then if you have the courage to come to this slide and start it, sure. So my basic concept is I have marked the important ones in red. I have also generally made these tables and given you a PDF to learn for the examination. But a smart student is always going to do it in the end because it is not worth the input output. Maximum you will get one question correct, one question from this area. So I hope and I pray that you can agree with me here, because there's no point discussing each one of them and their founders. No, this is the PPTs are your repository. So I have created the repository for you and given it to you. Let's see, everything is here. Be perfect. Yes. So you don't have to even open a spectrum. For the students who get inclined towards spectrum, you don't even have to open spectrum. Everything is here. If we can agree to it, then I would start with the discussion of these miscellaneous topics. I will tell you the trick to remember press regulations. I'll tell you the trick to remember ICS, and I'll tell you the tricks which are related to this area. But please, for God's love of God in that regard, please don't start with press regulations. There are close to 11 of them, and as it is, each one of them is very intricate. Agreed? Okay. We'll talk about the books, which to read, which not to read. Don't worry about that. Okay. Now the justice movement. See, there's a very important personality. He is called Periyar or C. Ramaswamy Naikar. Now, he started a very important movement which is called the concept of, sir, in that modern history books are given. I'll tell you the books, don't worry. Periyar is considered a very important personality because he started a very important movement and the idea behind the movement, which is called the self-respect movement. And when we talk about the self-respect movement, this movement said that until unless the depressed classes don't respect themselves and start to challenge Brahmanical authority, they cannot go forward. They cannot go forward. And based on Periyar's idea, there were three basic manifestations. First is called the justice movement, then is called the self-respect movement, and then it is called the Vaikom Satyagraha or the temple entry movement. All are based on Naikar's understanding only. So it is in Madras presidency in 1917 that C.N. Madurale, Nair and Tyagaraja will start what is called the non-Brahmin conferences, wherein in South India, it was more about destroying the monopoly of the Brahmins over the temple. And generally, there's a lot of what we call as Brahmanical control over institutions. Women, certain communities, certain castes are not allowed access to God itself. Therefore, there was a need to challenge that. So the Brahmin and non-Brahmin based tensions were quite high in South India. And the justice movement in that regard was about social justice and getting alleviated of caste prejudice and disproportionate representation in the government. So the Justice Party actually was formed with this basic understanding of Naikar or Periyar that we need to now represent ourselves and represent our interest. But the most ardent or most visible manifestation of Periyar's understanding was the self-respect movement. It's a 20th century, 1900s based movement. Non-Brahmins will start it, and it will be about access to wealth, education, and influence. More than that, it's about the backward castes, the different lower castes and the lower varnas, to create a context in which they could respect their own position in the society. Therefore, they were not lower in hierarchy, but rather the minorities of the upper castes. So it's about challenging the basic hierarchy of control. But the on the ground movement which came out was actually we call the temple entry movement. So they rejected Brahmanical religion and culture. They said that the scriptures were also biased in that sense. They said that the Brahmins should not have authority over lower castes and even domination over women. And they argued that the real culture is upheld by not the Brahmins, but by the lower castes and lower varnas. And therefore, the movement is going to become more and more ardent and more what we call as vocal by this concept of superior inferior, that there is nothing called superior inferior, we are the superior one. So if purity is going to be accepted by us, then we will never be able to self-respect us. That is why it's called the self-respect movement. More than that, it is on the ground during the 1920s and later in the CDM movement that this will become extremely popular. How? See, Sri Narayan Guru had already challenged the concept of temple entry. You have N. Kumar Asan and Madhavan, who actually were challenging this concept that certain castes cannot enter into the temple, so they created their own temples. But it's in 1924, based on Gandhian ideology, that the Vaikom Satyagraha started, in which even Gandhi became a part of it. And it was about how in Kerala, which is technically Travancore, certain communities were not even allowed to go through certain roads which connected the temple. And therefore, this Satyagraha was about access of untouchables or the lower castes to the different temples and also the segregation. So when you see the Vycom Satyagraha, you should need to understand it. Gandhi was part of it. Even from Punjab, certain people came and supported it. And very simply, it's about non-Brahmanical and Brahmanical, what we call as tensions in South India. Because temples are quite strong institutions in South India, the temple entry movement was needed in that regard. And actually by 1931, when the civil disobedience movement is going to get suspended, in Kerala, it will still go on in the form of temple entry movement. And K. Kalpan, a very important poet, is going to take 16 volunteers with him and go to the very important temple of Guruvayur. Then P. Krishna Pillai, A.K. Gopalan was one of the satyagrahis in that regard. And see, Sri Krishna Pillai, P. Krishna Pillai, in that regard, very important towering personality of this politics in this sector itself. And it is only going to be 1936 based on this 1924 to 1934-35 struggle that the Raja of Travancore is going to open all the temples to every person, everybody in South, and specifically, very specifically to this lower caste. And later, C. Rajagopalachari, who was the administrator in this sector, is going to take steps to make sure temple entry was not stopped. So very simply, before we go to Civil Services Committee, when we were discussing social justice reform movement, there was something related to civil disobedience which I didn't do, because the problem was to explain to you civil disobedience movement was difficult at that point of time. But I hope you can understand, in South India, the civil disobedience, the satyagraha, took a totally different form, in which it was about removing the Brahmanical domination over certain areas. Clear, everybody? We've already done Sri Narayan Guru, we've already done. So understand this very, very clearly, that in South, it was more about Brahmin, non-Brahmin. Okay. Rahul, I have not seen your question. Okay. Now, civil services committees. I am giving you a trick automatically in the beginning only. AIL. AIL is the acronym to remember the civil services committees. Atchison, Inslington, and Lee. There are 3 commissions which were there. Atchison, Inslington, and Lee. AIL. So please remember AIL. Other than that, I am discussing the nitty-gritties with you. AIL is the way to remember it. So we remember that by 1853, because of the Charter Act, open competition started. So open competition, it was introduced in civil services because of the Charter Act of 1853. The concept of recommendation or nomination by the Board of Control and Court of Directors were gone. After 1857, Indians were also claiming that we should be given access to higher services, but that will be stopped because of the fear of the Indian. However, more and more Indians wanted to get in that sense associated with the ICS, because that was a good opportunity and good employment opportunity the way it is today. But more than that, it gave nationalists the power to enter and use the bureaucracy to break British colonialism. So the right of patronage, the concept that nomination will happen from Court of Directors, stopped by the government, by the Charter Act of 1853. Thereafter, the simple point of the matter was, the British will say that we have an intention of allowing Indians to enter into civil services, but they will create as many roadblocks as possible. And therefore, when the Indian Civil Services Act is passed in 1861, it will have a lot of issues. For example, Act reserved all high positions, the covenanted high positions, for the English. And more than that, in order to clear that examination, you had to go to England, and the examination was based on Greek and Latin, in the sense that Greek, Latin languages needed to be known to clear the Indian Civil Services examination. We say that the syllabus of UPSC is difficult today. Imagine having a paper, exact same structure, prelims, mains, and interview, in which you have to learn Greek literature and Latin language. Further, the British made sure that Indians could not enter by reducing the age drastically. So from 23 to be the minimum age to give this examination, they made it 22 in 1860, then 21, and then 19. So imagine that in 1878, you think that by 19 years of age, an Indian would have become capable to go to London and give the examination in Latin and Greek. Latin and Greek. This is the maximum age. Yes, this is the maximum age. Meaning that after 19, you can't give the examination only. Imagine Latin, Greek, England, 19 years of age. So today, what is the maximum permissible age? 32 for general, and then there are different relaxations. 19. In 19, we are in school. So imagine how the British is creating a certain roadblock, that the maximum permissible age is 23, then 22, then 21, and then 19. So this is how the British used to say, no, we are to allowing Indians to enter. They are not giving the examination. How will an Indian give an examination? Still, Indians used to clear this examination, but they created all roadblocks as much as possible. Further, Indian Civil Services Act provided that any person, whether Indian or European, should have resided in India for at least 7 years and should pass the examination in vernacular language for employment. So it was also not that this examination was easy for an European. You had to stay in India for 7 years before you could give this examination. Further, you needed to know a vernacular language. For example, Marathi, Telugu, Kannada. Then only you actually clear this exam. So that ways, it was and still is considered the most difficult examination in the world, because it has a lot of different small roadblocks which creates the issues for candidates. Here they are creating every possible one to make sure that they never enter into the Indian civil services. So till this point clear? 1853 opens open competition. In principle, Indians can apply, but basically all the rules and regulations are created in such a way that they cannot. Okay, now the act also maintained that principal civil services officers had to be of covenanted service, which means English. Indians were demanding entry into the covenanted service, meaning the higher ranks, but demand not fulfilled. It will, however, be an extraordinary feat that in 1863, S.N. Tagore is going to become the first Indian to qualify the Indian civil service. So it needed a Tagore to clear this examination. And in 1878-79, in order to make sure that there was even more issues, Lytton, who's considered not a very good viceroy for us generally, introduced the statutory civil services, what we call as act, consisting of the fact that 1/6 should be Indian of higher families nominated by local governments to get it approved by the Secretary of State and then the Viceroy. Now imagine, first the local government approves it, then the Secretary of State will approve it, the Viceroy also has to approve it. It will only lead to nepotism, but also the problem is that no one was so qualified to do it only. So the basic point of the matter is we were theoretically allowed to enter into the Indian civil services, but all higher positions were for the Europeans and all roadblocks were created so that Indians would never be able to enter. But against all of that, S.N. Tagore did enter. However, it is going to be by 1865 1886, basically once the INC will be formed, there will be need for more opening. So the Atchison committee is the first committee which is going to be set up by Dufferin, and it says that the examination should only be held in England, but it recommended that there should be 3 levels of examination. Like today, you should have Imperial Indian Civil Services, which is UPSC, Provincial Civil Services, which is State PCSC, and Subordinate Civil Services, which is SSC. So today you have 3 levels, right? You can give this examination. You can give UPSC, you can give State PCSC, and you can give SSC. These 3 are actually created by the Atchison Committee, this concept of threefold division. It asked to raise the age limit to 23, but that will actually not be done. So Atchison. Thereafter, you have the Inslington Commission. It is considered very significant because in principle, for the first time, it said that examination should be held simultaneously in England and in India. And therefore, you have to understand that in after 10 years, for the first time in 1912, you will have in 1922, rather than 1922, you will have in Allahabad and in England, London, or London, England, you will have simultaneous examination. So simultaneous examination will be held in India and in England for the first time in 1922. So it is the Inslington Commission which said that. And thereafter, the Lee Commission said a very important concept, which is that Secretary of State should be the one who recruits everybody, 1924. And there should be a new officers branch which should be created, Indian Forest Services, which exists till today. But the most important concept was that there should be an education and medical services also. But his major recommendation was that in the next 15 years, 50-50 parity should be there, or at least 50% of officers should be Indian and 50% of the officers should be European. And All India Public Service Commission will be formed, which is called UPSC today, under the recommendation of this commission. Now, let me consolidate everything together and we can move on. I hope this made sense to you, but I'm trying to basically give you the basic picture. Before 1853, it was nomination. After 1853, it is open competition. AIL, Atchison, Inslington, Lee. Atchison says what? That examination only in England, and very simply, he creates the 3-tiered structure. Inslington says simultaneous examination, and Lee says 50-50 parity. Can you remember what I've written on this slide? You can remember this? So then we don't have to worry about anything else which is written there. Right? Yes, Ilma, yes. Yes, the civil services was there in every colony, but in India, it has, we are concerned about ICS. Now comes the development of Indian press. Can I talk about this and then we do mains questions? This is the only last section which is left. Before that, Congress sessions are there, and then we will end with the mains questions. Now, as I said, this area is for your enjoyment. If you can enjoy it, then you listen to me. You don't have to learn it, because I actually know students become paranoid over this area. I would have got in the first class itself, second class itself, I said, where is the list of newspapers? But by the end of it, people realize that there's much more to modern India than just newspapers. So, very simply, I'm going to give you a picture. Enjoy the picture, but don't have to worry about it. Yes, can we agree to it? Done? Okay, perfect. Because for one question, I'm not going to die over it. That is the basic point. Okay. Now, see, I've already told you that there is this section on these tables. Separate issue altogether. Have to look at them from time to time. Now, the first printing press was brought into India by the Portuguese. They brought it into India to print the Bible. So the Bible was printed quite a lot. Now, whatever I mark in red, or rather I'll mark in orange. You just have to be cognizant of that. First newspaper weekly published in India was called the Bengal Gazette, and a person called J.A. Hickey was the one who formed it. Don't care about the year. But if you look at it, he's called the father of the Indian press itself. He criticized Warren Hastings and his Chief Justice Impey quite a lot. So what happened was, as the British did, though a European, he will be arrested and his press will be closed. So the British are very consistent about some certain things, which is that they will never tolerate criticism, be it a European, be it an Indian. Thereafter, you have in 1792, the Bombay Herald will be created by merging two newspapers called the Bombay Courier and Bombay Gazette. There's a Urdu newspaper which is called Sayyadul Akhbar. Then in 1838, you have Delhi Akhbar. Then you have Hindu Patriot, which will come in 1840. The Indian Mirror, which will be edited by Devendranath Tagore and Keshav Chandra Sen and Narendra Sen. I am not marking anything, all for your enjoyment. Thereafter, the Times of India will be formed in 1861, when the Bombay Times, Bombay Standard, Bombay Courier and Telegraph, all four newspapers will come under one. Thereafter, you have another weekly, which is Statesman, which comes today. Statesman and Friends was established in 1890. The staple for a UPSC aspirant, 1878, the Hindu newspaper was started by G. Subramaniam Iyer, and later it will become tri-weekly, and under Kusinagara, it is going to become, when he will become the editor, it will become daily. Kesari and the Maratha were started by Tilak and Kelkar in Bombay in 1881. Anybody has any fainting issues, or does it seem heavy till this point? Because it will start to hurt here a little bit. Just tolerate it, huh? Because it will become more and more heavy. But in the end, it's worth it. Okay. Now, telegraph is also there till today. Now there are regulations. And they're not one but total 9. Censorship Act, Vernacular Press Act, Indian Press Act, this act, that act. Now, what I'm going to do in front of you is I'm going to make an acronym. Remember that acronym if they ask you to put them in chronological order. Other than that, we are not journalists. We don't have to print anything. So I don't care what the regulations is. So what I'm going to do is I'm on one slide. I'm going to consolidate it for you one place only. So Censorship of Press Act. So we call it Censorship of Press Act. Then you have Licensing Regulating Act. And the last is called Press Act. So CELIPRESS is the first set of acronyms. CELIPRESS. Now the pain starts more. Hereafter, again Licensing Act, then Registration Act. So licensing and registration. So because we have already licensing 57 and Regi. LI 57 Regi, because there are two licensing, one before it, one after it. So licensing, Regi, registration. Thereafter, you have the period of press, what we call as muzzling, Vernacular Press Act, and the Newspapers Act, and Indian Press Act. Now you're getting my point. Why did I say it's pointless to remember all of this? You have Vernacular Press Act, the Newspapers Act, and thereafter the Indian Press Act, right? Vernacular, newspaper, Indian Press Committee. So you see, names are very close to each other. Newspaper and then Indian Press. Then, how many questions from this area? Pulkit, however it may be, it's not worth it. But yeah, one question has come, that too, previously it used to come. Now nobody cares. Still, it's left, don't worry. Indian Press Committee press emergency, press regulating. So press committee, press regulating, press committee regulating, emergency and regulating. So I have to make it PR co M ray. Now, if you can remember it, thank you so much. If you can't remember it, it's not your fault. It's the fault of this area. Do you get the point? Why am I asking you not to delve in this too much? Because too much detail. So if you can remember this slide, whatever I marked here, sure. Jasveer, in miscellaneous, you have to get nothing. AIL have to remember. That's it. Self-respect movement, Vycom Satyagrah, temple entry movement. That is it. Nothing more, nothing less. Out of all the things, there is one question out of 13 acts. Makes no sense. Now, if you give me permission, I'll end your misery by just telling you the basic changes which each of them does. And I would rather want to do the mains questions with you, strategy, mains question, everything else. You're getting my point. We are being utilitarians here, that we don't understand the utility of this area generally. Is everybody agreeing with me, or you want to learn this? If you want to learn, Bharat Ratna to you. Okay. Now, I am going to just give you an overview. Just giving you an overview. So see, when Wellesley introduced post-independence from tomorrow. When Wellesley, you get independence from me on Monday, post-independence from tomorrow. So censorship of Press Act, when Wellesley introduced, he wanted basically that printer, editor, and the where it is published, it should be published, or it should be actually indicated. Further, it was extended to all magazine, pamphlets, and journals. And you will see that basically the British want more and more control over the press, because basically we were starting to criticize them too much. So printer, editor, press, everything should be submitted. Any printed material should be also submitted. Pre-censorship was there. Thereafter, licensing, as it says, you need to get a license from the government. If you don't have a license from the government, you are going to be fined 400 rupees. And the Governor General has the right to cancel the license itself. And under this, a paper which was started by Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Miratul Akhbar, will be stopped. Thereafter, Metcalfe, he is considered the liberator of the press, because he removed everything which was created by Wellesley and Shore previously. And he will say that publisher should only give where the premises is, no pre-censorship in that regard. Thereafter, the Licensing Act after 1857, as it is, was about basically getting to know about the press more and prohibiting any publication which was criticizing the British in that regard. Registration Act of 1867, again it will replace the Metcalfe Act. It will say to print the name of the printer and publisher and place everywhere. Every copy should be submitted to the local government within 1 month of its publication. Again, censorship. Thereafter, we go into this period of 1868 to 19, wherein there will be a lot of criticism which will happen in the newspapers. So the purpose of all regulations is going to be muzzling, so that the criticism should be gone. So you have the worst of the worst. Remember this act for sure, Vernacular Press Act. Lord Lytton introduced it. Under it, magistrates were authorized to ask any publisher to give assurance that they will not threaten the peace and security of that area. Fixed amount as security guarantee, and magistrates have final decision over dispute. Ironically, only applies to the vernacular papers. So overnight, a lot of papers became English papers. Ripon is going to remove it, but the basic point is only vernacular, not English papers. So therefore, Som Prakash stopped because of this act. In Bengali, Banerjee is going to get arrested for what he wrote. And Amrit Badar Patrika overnight will become from Hindi to an English newspaper to avoid it. And Bal Gangadhar Tilak will actually be arrested under this Vernacular Press Act for enticing violence in that regard. Then you have newspaper incitement of offenses. Again, too much of the concept, but any newspaper found what is called enticing offenses, crimes of murders and violence would lose their license. So you can see why the more revolutionary activities are happening. 1908 is the first phase of revolutionary activities. So they're trying to control that so that people cannot get to know that revolutionaries are doing something generally. Further, by 1910, there was a new security deposit concept that you have 2000 rupees minimum to 500 to 2000 rupees you have to keep with the magistrate. New printing presses have to get licenses. If you are going to default, you will default and you will not be allowed to do anything. Thereafter, the press committee, Tej Bahadur Sapru, will say you should need to abolish all the acts from 1908 to 1910. Then the Indian Press Emergency, 1931. Now, very simply, I'm going to read out a section for you and you need to tell me for whom that section was. The main feature was that if any publication directly or indirectly admired the offense of any person, real or fictitious, the government would seize the press. This section is for whom? Look at the year and tell me for whom. 1931. Not for Gandhi, not for Gandhi. This is for Bhagat Singh. Bhagat Singh was being revered by everybody, admired the offense of any person, real or fictitious. This was about Bhagat Singh. Just that the presses could not admire and make Bhagat Singh a hero. This was the basic point which they introduced. Thereafter, 1942, journalists were made to register mandatorily, and further, you had to make sure that you had to give your material to the government for pre-censorship. Arbitrary censorship was also there. Now, if you actually have to learn something, learn this. Please learn this, which is pro and anti-press viceroys. A smart student will learn favor or not in favor. This one list or two list. Yes. There were only four viceroys who were very, very favorable. Hastings, Metcalfe, Macaulay, and Ripon. Everyone else was in favor of censorship. With this, our discussion about this is over. Thank you for your patience. Very well appreciated. Now, for someone whose problem with censorship is that you're technically going to remove anything which helps the nationalists. For people who again have nightmares about Congress sessions, it is again in this PPT. Every Congress session which is important and their president is given. Now, I am going to mark two sessions very, very important, and please note them. See, first session, we know W.C. Banerjee was the, in 1885, we know that. We have to go to this first. 1896, the Vande Mataram song will be sung for the first time in the 1896 Calcutta session. Thereafter, you have another important moment, which is 1970, which is first woman president of the Congress was Annie Besant. Please note this point, is Annie Besant. Then you have another very important session. 1925. The first Indian woman president was Sarojini Naidu. And the only session presided over by Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi became the president in the Belgaum session. Annie Besant is the first woman president. She's an Irish lady, not an Indian. And Sarojini Naidu is the first Indian woman president. So in the examination, I hope you will pay attention to the fact that does it say Indian or not Indian? You will have to pay attention for this because a lot of students mix it up quite a lot. Thereafter, we already know Lahore session Purna Swaraj. We already know Karachi session 31. We also know that by Haripuri and Tripuri session, Gandhi versus Bose. We know the Ramgarh session already. The last session, remember, the last session which ever happened was in 1946. J.B. Kriplani was the member, or was the president, Meerut. But the most important, between 41 to 45, I no Congress session happened because of the multiple events which are happening. As it is from 42, all Congress members were arrested and the Congress was banned. Whatever I've marked here, can you remember it for the examination? Whatever I've marked, I'm not asking to remember all of them. But if you're still curious, everything else is given in the PPT. So with this, we come back to where we started, and I want to discuss mains questions. But before I do that, I want to discuss strategy with you. Can I discuss strategy with you, and then we can discuss the mains questions, or the other way around we should do? First the mains questions, and then you want to do strategy. First the strategy. What do you want? Let's do one thing. Let's do mains questions so that we can discuss strategy with all ease. Okay. See, now I'm going to discuss the questions which have come previously, and I'm going to tell you how to approach them. And then last 5 to 10 minutes we'll discuss the strategy itself. Everyone's ready? Everyone's ready? Because I just wanted to see the questions so that you understand the strategy also. Okay. First question is, and we've discussed this previously also, why did the armies of the British East India Company, this 2022 itself, mostly comprising of Indian soldiers, win consistently against the more numerous and better equipped armies of the Indian rulers? Now, why am I discussing this question with you? Because if you look at this question, it is not asking direct, indirect. It's asking strategy of expansion. Now, in this type of question, you will, in the introduction, write that there were two types in which the British did conquest, direct or indirect. There were direct conquest in, for example, Maratha, the Mysore, the Carnatic sector, and indirect conquest was through what? Subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse. But as the question says, they were never fighting. So now you need to give reasons why were the British always winning without even fighting. Let's try to pan it out. First, for example, they had subsidiary alliance, doctrine of lapse. As it is, they never needed to fight. Second, infighting. They always got inroads because of infighting. Their army was technologically better. Further, the biggest issue, disunity. So there was never unity in India itself. So therefore, the British always did internal politics and won. So therefore, the British always waited and watched, and the basic internal politics gave them that area automatically. So you just have to emphasize how the disunity of Indian rulers in turn led to the British actually capturing power, and conclude by saying that this was the masterstroke. You can always say that the British in India acted the patient game, and because of the infighting and the internal politics of all the states, the British were always involved or were made to get involved, for example, in the Marathas, in the example of Awadh, everywhere, and therefore they were able to win. So this question is not factual, it's conceptual. Now you see, next question. We have already done this also. Why was there a sudden spurt? Spurt means rise in famines in colonial India since the mid 18th century. Give reasons. Why is that from mid 18th century, which is after 1750, famines started to happen too much? Why did it happen? What is this question about? This question is about what? Is actually about economic policy. It's about economic policy, wherein they are asking us, you have to just say land revenue leads to commercialization, leads to deindustrialization. In turn, commercialization will lead to food being not produced. So therefore, famines. Here you have to literally tell them how did famines be a product of the colonial economic policy? Nothing more. Don't start to write this is the way we have the permanent settlement or Rath Valley settlement. No, it's just about telling them how land revenue leads to commercialization, commercialization leads to cash crop production, food production stops, man-made famines are created. Again, a purely theoretical question. Purely theoretical question, has nothing to do with the data. It's all about understanding how does colonialism impact. How do you write the intro? You will say that the British got Diwani rights in 1750 in 1765. By getting the Diwani rights, they started to introduce land revenue settlements. These land revenue settlements, it's only 150 words, so 20 words. These land revenue settlements created a chain reaction which led to more and more famines. First point, or first point. What is that? Land revenue settlement led to landlessness, indebtedness, too much demand, over assessment. Therefore, peasants were always under pressure to pay more. Second, forced commercialization. Because of land revenue settlement, forced commercialization happened. Food grains were produced less, cash crops were more. Third point, is basically related to drain of wealth and deindustrialization will put in more and more pressure on agriculture. Famines will start to rise. You can write about world wars, but in the last bullet that even the world wars impacted it, because at the end of the day, food was moved away. For example, the 1943 famine. Don't have to go into specificities. Very easy question, because it's, I hope you have the understanding to approach these questions, because one thing is to teach you modern India, the other is to make you understand modern India. So it's about understanding how things are happening rather than learning what is happening. That is the basic point, right? Okay. Now, you see these three questions, which are exactly the same, came 1 year after the other. You see, 2019, the question came, many voices had strengthened and enriched the national movement during the Gandhian phase. 2020, they asked you a question. Since the decade of 1920s, national movement acquired various ideological strands, thereby expanding its social base. And in 2021, it asked, bring out the constructive program of Gandhi during non-cooperation civil disobedience. Are these questions the same or they different? Is the material the same or different? It's exactly the same question in three forms. This question is asking you many voices. This question is asking you social base. Women, children, Muslims, the peasant, the worker, the Sarajist, the no changers, the different parts, the Khilafat movement, everything, many voices. All these voices joined. Social base. Again, we've discussed that. Lawyers, students, the peasants, workers, standard concept. Women, the way civil servants responded, the way revolutionaries responded. And can you write the constructive program of Gandhi during the two movements, NCM and civil disobedience? Constructive work means what he did for social base expansion. Muslim unity, Hindu Muslim unity, mass based, peasant. Thereafter, Harijan program. What he did with the again Hindu Muslim unity. In both movements, he was trying to bring the people together. These three questions have the same exact answer, but with varying emphasis. With varying emphasis. This is the point of understanding modern India. Because if a student will say, sir, I see these three questions as separate, then you need to understand that the question is all only about one thing: social base. How did Gandhi expand the social base of the Indian national movement? That is it. Same question. Further, if you see this question, for example, first question says, highlight the differences in the approach of Subhash Chandra Bose and Mahatma Gandhi. Are you in a position to write this question of 2016? Have I given you that much understanding that you can write the differences in approach of Subhash Chandra Bose and Gandhi? Bose and Gandhi? Perfect. Now the most interesting question was asked in 2015. And the question was, how different would have been the achievements of Indian independence without Mahatma Gandhi? discuss. Now, please, I want to discuss this question with you a little bit. See, there are two things you have to do. You can't say that without Gandhi, no independence would come, because then you're demeaning everyone else. And if you say Gandhi, with Gandhi, nothing really matters, then you're demeaning Gandhi. So in one, you are demeaning the father of the nation. And in the other, you are demeaning every other important personality from Bose to Nehru to Patel. So here, the best answer is Indian independence would have been achieved with or without Gandhi. But with Gandhi, it came in 1947. But without Gandhi, independence would have been delayed. Because if Gandhi would not have been there, then people would not have learned. Therefore, Quit India would never have happened. Therefore, never non-cooperation CDM would have happened. Therefore, independence would come because other personalities are there. But Gandhi accelerated it, the project, and by 1947, we got independence. This way, you are not demeaning Gandhi and you are not demeaning anybody else. Get independence for sure, maybe late. Get my point? Delayed independence. Never, ever, ever say that Gandhi is not needed or Gandhi was too important. You are then not having a balanced approach in that question. So you again get it. Basically, see, discussing these questions, it's not about you writing the answers. It's about understanding how to now approach modern India. Can I tell you the approach towards modern India? Because you can see that there is a certain type of question which has been asked in prelims, there's certain type of question which is asked in mains. Now, what is common to both prelims and mains is application of knowledge. Now, please listen to me. I'm sharing the strategy to learn modern India. But before I do that, everybody is clear, everybody is comfortable, everybody is understanding what we are doing, because from tomorrow we go into post independence. So we all are on the same page. If you've never said yes, you say yes right now. I need to know that everything makes sense vis-a-vis modern India, because we will start post independence. Post independence is a purely mains area, not a prelims oriented area. Yes, great. Now, perfect, thank you so much for that. Very good. Now, when we talk about the strategy, there will be two type of students in this class. One 2024 who have to give the examination in 2024, and the other one will be 25 to 3000, meaning next 75 years whenever they give the examination. Two types of students will be there. So either 365 days or more than, this is less than 365 days, and 365 days plus. So you could be 2100, 2110, whatever you like. You could not be born, but you are here. But basic point of the matter is that you have more than 365 days, less than 365 days. So I know 2026, 2025, 2020. So mostly the students are going to be 2025, 26, 27, maximum 28. That is the more or less the crowd here. Okay. Now, the approach changes a little bit for both, but the resource remains the same. See, first I'm discussing for anybody who's 2024. For a person in 2024 who has less than 365 days, please understand the point very clearly. Your base is PPT, This is the base. Learn them, revise them. Thereafter, once the base is done, you are comfortable with the PPT, you move to the NCERT, 8th class and 12th class, part 3. Now I have the NCERT open here with me on the screen. So for example, you have the 8th class NCERT. It is from trade to territory, ruling the countryside, tribal Bhikkhu vision of golden age, when people rebel, civilizing the native, women caste reform, making of national movement. Now, in this 8th class NCERT, for example, if you want to note it down, please note it down that, for example, 8th class, you have, I'll write it down also, 8th class chapter 2, 3, 5, 8. Chapter 2, 3, 5, 8. 8th class chapter 2, 3, 5, 8. This is basically, you can download the NCERT. It is available free on the NCERT website. Chapter 2, 3, 5, 8 are very, very important for you because they deal with, first two deal with, 2 and 3 deal with actually economic policy, 5 deals with 1857, and 8 deals with the national movement. On the other hand, in class 12th NCERT, you have 3 sections: colonialism and countryside, rebels and the Raj, Mahatma Gandhi, and framing of the constitution. Here, all the 4 chapters are important. Here, all the 4 chapters are important. All 4 are important. You have to learn it. You have to not learn it, but you have to read it. Read it. Now, what do I mean by reading it and what do I mean by learning it? There are 2 ways to approach any study material. First is that you only read it, or the other one is to read and learn it. When you read Harry Potter, do you learn it or do you read it? You read it. You don't learn it. Same type of novel type reading I want of the NCERT. Just go through the chapter, enjoy the chapter, but learn through the PPT only. Are you getting my point? What to do with the NCERT? What to do with the NCERT? Yes, very good. Now, for 2024, this is bare minimum. This is bare minimum. Thereafter, if you are able to cover these 2 steps, then you go into Bipin Chandra. And there in Bipin Chandra, there are 2 chapters which are very, very important, which is chapter number 14 and 15, which is national movement related. Last 2 chapters are extremely important. Last 2 chapters are very, very important. You can generally again read Bipin Chandra. Read Bipin Chandra. Students want to substitute Bipin Chandra with Spectrum. Totally your call if you want to do it. That is totally your call. But a student, if he emails me, what is the then 13 and 14, chapter 13 and 14. If you ask me and email me, sir, what I have to do irrespective of anything, I would say PPT plus NCERT is bare minimum. Thereafter, it is according to your Shraddha, how much Shraddha or how much commitment you have to modern India. Bipin Chandra or Spectrum has to be read, but PPT plus NCERT for a 2024 student is extremely important. So PPT is already written in notes fashion. So don't make notes out of the PPT itself. And NCERT you have to only read. So am I asking too much out of a 2024 aspirant, which is to concentrate on the PPT, learn it, revise it, everything, and NCERT I'm asking you to read once. That's it. Am I asking too much? No. Very good. So we agree that I'm not asking your life in that regard. Now for the students who give it in the next century itself, from 2025 to 2028. See, you have no excuse. You have more than 365 days. So you have to read Bipin Chandra. You have to read Bipin Chandra. If you will start to run away from this right now, it will not make sense. I am right now discussing the source. Then I will tell you the strategy, how to go about it. Can the 2025 people promise to me Bipin Chandra Spectrum, whatever you like? Will you read it after doing the PPT and NCERT? I want your assertion. I want your guarantee. ARM is additional reading material for your reference. That's it. So for 2024, if you are, the willpower is good, Go through Spectrum or Bipin Chandra after doing a PPT and NCRT. For anybody who's 2025, please, you have close to 600 days plus. You can easily do another set of sources. What are books provided by Byju's? Byju's book is called Bipin Chandra only, History of Modern India. So if you can, perfect. Now we are clear about the resources, right? We are clear about the resources. Now I'll take your 4 to 5 minutes to talk about how to create a certain structure in which you can understand modern India well. Now, see, I'm going to ask you to do one thing, which is that irrespective of cyclone, drought, fire, or anything, I want your 15 minutes. I want your 15 minutes, which is that every day in the morning 15 minutes and in the evening 15 minutes, I want you to learn certain amounts of facts, For example, social justice reform movement, tribal and peasant. You have the wars, you have names. Certain amount of facts means if you can do 2, 2, 5, 5, 10, 10. Doesn't matter. Irrespective of anything, every morning, evening, you will in the morning learn, for example, 2. Brahmo Samaj, Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Brahmo Samaj of India, Kesab Chandra Sen. This is what I learned today. Throughout the day, you will keep on trying to remember it. And in the evening, you will try to write them down on paper, which is Brahmo Samaj, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and what we call as the concept of Brahmo Samaj of India, Kesab Chandra Sen. If you are able to write it, very good. If you're not able to, you will revise, write it, and close it. If you can do this 365 days, irrespective of whatever is happening in your life, you will be able to remember each and every fact better than me. But in this, I want discipline. Discipline from anybody who's 2024, 25, 26, 27. 15 minutes you have to give me. By this, what you are doing is, you are making sure that your prelims preparation is happening every day. This is your prelims preparation, which is happening every day. Acceptable? 15 minutes. Not 1 hour, not 3 hours, only 15 minutes. It is on your comfort level. You want to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 facts, totally your call. Now, once you are doing this, I also want you to do one thing, which is that in a week, write one answer. Write one answer mains level. In a week. So we have already given you over the last 4 weeks, at least 5 questions. 20 questions I've given you. In class, I've given you another set of 15 to 20 questions. For the next 2 to 3, 4 months, I've given you enough questions to write one answer in a week. Modern India, I'm asking you one answer. That's it. So, for example, when this will be over, on Saturday, again, you will get 5 questions, subjective questions. One each day if you are doing, very good. But because more subjects will start to pile up, I am giving you a realistic strategy. I'm not giving you an unrealistic strategy. I'm giving a realistic strategy wherein if you are writing one modern answer every day, every week, you are doing the mains preparation also. Now, my basic suggestion to you, don't ask for model answers, because there's nothing called model answer in UPSC. Do not try to mug up answers, because then it defeats the purpose of answer writing. You need to develop your own style. That is the only way you top this examination. So please, my biggest request to you is, do not look for model answers. Don't Google the answers. Write whatever you want to write, but write it on originally. So where do you get the questions? It is in your portal itself. Every week, 5 questions are uploaded. I hope you know that. Every Saturday, certain amount of prelims questions and 5 mains questions come to you from me only. I set those questions, both prelims and mains. Now, before I take too much of your time again, simple point. How to go about it? In the next 1 month, because what is going to happen is as soon as this is over, geography will start. And what is going to happen is from Tuesday, you'll be like, sir, how do I do modern India? I have to do geography also. 15 minutes you have to give irrespective of anything. Once a week, you have to write a modern India answer. And what I want from you is to make a timetable. To make a timetable in which you add your BHLP class, that I will be doing this BHLP class in this regard. And I want to you to allocate in a realistic manner 1 hour for your PPT learning and revision. If you can do this, I'm not asking your out of 24 hours, I'm asking 1 hour 15 minutes from you. If you can make a good timetable, then you'll easily be able to conquer everything, because 1 hour you will give to me, 1 hour you will give to polity, 1 hour you'll give to geography. I'm not asking you to do too much. I'm just asking you to do the basic minimum disciplined study. So you do the PPTs, create your base, read the NCRTs, then again go back to the PPTs, write an answer, 15 minutes. Done. Acceptable, realistic strategy, not expecting you to be a robot. Don't compromise on your sleep. And if you can't make a timetable yourself, email me saying that, sir, I need a timetable. A mentor will call you. So be ready to get a call from us. A mentor will call you. He'll sit with you. He'll figure it out. What do you want as a timetable? Right? If you are a working professional, then what you do is Saturday, Sunday is your off. So what you do is that you make that. I'm asking 5 hours from you. I'm asking 5 hours from you from Monday to Friday. You put in 4 hours on Saturday then. For a working professional, for a college student, you maximize on your time in which you are not when you're at home, when you're in your very what we call as when in your college or in your profession. Don't worry about that. Concentrate there, because that also matters. So very simply, don't give up on your college studies. Don't give up on your job. Do what you're doing. Just maximize your time in that regard. If you are very free, then the sky is the limit with regards to that, right? For 2025, 26, 27, same strategy, but much more prolonged in that regard. Done. Strategy makes sense. Can I say today, and can I go home and sleep knowing that my students know modern India and you have the theoretical factual understanding of doing any questions? Yes. So perfect. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow with post independence. And very simply, our orientation will totally change. Any question you have, email me abhishek.mishra19@byju's.com. The SME will push my email ID to you also. That is not an issue. Issue is there. We'll figure it out together. I hope modern India made sense to you. It was easy to understand. It was manageable. I've given you a strategy which makes sense. And generally, you are now not scared of history, or at least books like Spectrum. That book now looks easy to you. So we finally given Indian independence. Tomorrow, we will try to understand what are the challenges for India once it got independence. So I'll write it down. My email ID is abhishek.mishra19@byju's.com. 19 because Abhishek is a very common name like Rahul and that. Okay. So book reading should not be more than 2 hours with a book. You're reading then word to word. Read it like a novel. Don't try to go into word to word. PPT should be read with more detail, right? As I said, 19 is not my birthday. There are 18 other Abhishek Mishras in this organization. The beauty of having Abhishek as your name. Okay. So, clear? I will see you tomorrow, same time, then on Saturday. Thank you. Take care. It was a pleasure doing Modern India. Let's finish everything by Monday, and then you get independence from me also. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.